Murray sets up for three. Catch! Brunson gets it in. Caught by Towns. Brunson will fire. And that's it. The Pistons end the longest losing streak in NBA playoff history. They win their first postseason game since 2008.
Good morning. Welcome in Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centrist Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. What's up, DB?
How we doing?
We're doing all right.
Are you just saying that?
No, we're doing okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
How are you doing?
Well, I tried to check on Shane this morning, but I am now miserable having done that.
Yeah, no, Shane's out of pocket. We don't.
I thought that was a legitimate question.
Yeah.
Did you?
Well, I mean, it's in line with how we normally talk to each other.
Okay.
In other context, the context, as always, is very important.
Yeah, well, so it took me a second to figure out why the television was on TNT.
Yeah. Had little hoops on last
And I was
night.
like, oh, shoot. I forgot, right?
Yeah.
Basketball, even though I clearly watch.
Yeah.
I had the 3-box. The 3-box last night
So
included
you had the 2 hockey games and the NBA game?
and basketball.
Yeah.
It's not often.
Yeah.
You can get multiple sports on the old box.
Yeah, usually it's all or nothing.
So, I asked Shane. I thought it was a legit question. I said, hey, man, good morning. How many potential children have you lost to Alyssa Milano? It's a fair question. And well,
Go ahead.
and I just and then Shane went old school and said, not as many as I potentially lost to your mom.
Which feels over the line.
I felt
Personally.
like
It feels
that
over the
was way too aggressive
Yeah,
this
it was-
morning.
we're coming out hot.
Well, you gotta understand though, it didn't affect my play.
That's Lawrence Taylor talking about doing crack. Could you believe he said that?
I could not.
Either one of them, Lawrence Taylor or Shane. Hey, Lawrence, it's been widely reported that, you've done a lot of crack the night before games. And Lawrence would utter the phrase,
Well, you gotta understand though, it didn't affect my play.
how does that happen?
I mean, I'm less surprised by Lawrence Taylor. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
because your mom has a level of affection for Shane.
yeah, they're like Facebook friends.
That
and we were sitting there scrolling through my family archives yesterday or
a couple days
last
ago.
week, and
Yeah.
Shane gave me the illusion he was actually a good guy.
No.
Yeah, you're out, Shane.
No.
But by the way, I saw you blowing the little engine that could puffs from your vape. Why were the clouds a little more pronounced today? It's not the weather. It's not cold. Were you vaping different this morning?
No, it's probably just because I had a new filter in.
The new filter.
Yeah, it does it.
It gives you Puff the Magic Dragon vibes.
It just makes it. It gives it new. It makes it newer,
Yeah.
so it works better.
What flavor are we rolling with?
The same, the hula berry.
Dude is wild, like a child.
Just a lot of questions.
Yeah,
Lot of questions.
I don't
That's
know.
a great question.
I don't know if we're gonna get you started this morning, Shane. We're gonna put you on ice.
Yeah, he might need to be in timeout today.
No, he's going in timeout. He was very inappropriate. I thought my question was fair. I did.
Well, like I said, I think it's
everybody has kind of that.
in the neighborhood of the things we normally talk about.
Yeah.
I didn't think
It
was-
probably didn't help with the conversation that I had before that.
Good point. Very good point. I will say this about the previous conversation outside. Are you concerned about your Colorado Avalanche?
It's a reset in the series. We go 1-1. A little bit concerned though.
Imagine if Dallas was healthy.
And they're not the team that they were last year. Yeah. If they were healthy,
You got.
So Shane, did you stay up for it?
There's
not all the way, but I caught the rest of it this morning. So.
there's a closet little part inside of me that is. Did you ever see Desperately Seeking Susan?
No.
That's a little before your time. Anyway, it came out about the same time as like Ghostbusters and some other 80s movies.
Yeah, I didn't really go back and get a lot of the 80s movies.
And it was over. It was Madonna.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan.
And I think the Arquette lady, is it a young Arquette in that
Patricia
one? Shane?
Arquette?
Or is that her name?
There is a Patricia Arquette.
I don't know. Just Google "desperately seeking Susan."
I'm
But
on it.
anyway, I'm desperately trying not to cheer for the Stars, but that was my preseason Stanley Cup pick. So I kind of want to be right, but I don't really like Dallas.
That's Rosanna Arquette.
Rosanna Arquette?
There is a Patricia Arquette as well, but that's not her in the movie.
Okay, so like Toto. Rosanna.
Oh, yeah.
Ain't nothing like it. Is that Toto, Shane?
That is Toto. Yes.
I thought you meant like we're not in Kansas anymore. And
That's
I was like,
better than that. By the way,
that was pretty good.
is this a hot take? But Wizard of Oz is highly overrated.
Yeah, it's not a good movie.
It's highly overrated.
Listen, I mean, if you want to get me on to like these movies that I think are wildly overrated, don't get me started on It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, I never. Well, first of all, why would you watch that start to finish? It's from like.
I'm just saying.
When was that even done? In the 40s?
40s, I think. Jimmy Stewart, I think, is a 40s guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, Wizard of Oz is older than that. Wizard of Oz is older than It's a Wonderful Life.
Are we sure?
What would you like to bet?
No.
What would you like? Okay.
No.
I'm positive.
No. You try. Hey, how about me like backing off the Nebraska sweep?
Yeah, that was a good call.
Thank you.
That was a good call.
Thank you. I did not want to be greedy.
It's a Wonderful Life is 1946.
Yes. Oh, you're probably right.
It was Wizard of Oz 1939.
Yeah, that's close.
Wizard of Oz is not overrated.
Yeah, it is. It's really overrated.
No.
Well,
I mean, it's
that's because that's how your people got their first start, right? The little.
What, the flying monkeys?
Wow.
What?
You got me with the Munchkins.
And he tried to clap back with the monkeys.
Yeah, which is wild considering the audience. We represent the Lollipop Guild.
I'm over you. We're done. It's 7:07. I tried to ride with you for 20 years.
You're like,
nope.
You're like Paramore. I'm over you.
Yeah. And it's his delivery.
No, the Flying Monkeys.
The Flying Monkeys? No, bro. The Munchkins.
No,
You knew.
do you hear me? I'm quaky. I'm tired. I worked hard at school.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I
You
understand.
take your little narrow behind back to bed.
I understand if we have any like hardcore movie buffs in the audience, they're gonna be like, well, all the technical things that Wizard of Oz. That's fine. I appreciate that. I'm just saying, as a movie,
Well, look, Anthony even agrees.
to sit down and watch it, it's not that good of a movie.
Are we streaming already? I never checked the tube this early.
Yeah.
What did Anthony say? He said The Wiz is better. Dang, how do we have this many replies already? We just started.
Yeah, they start going before we even go.
The Wiz is better than It's a Wonder. I've never seen It's a Wonderful Life.
No, I think he's saying The Wiz is better than The Wizard of Oz. It's like it's a different like retelling of it.
Would you guess that I would be more familiar with The Wiz?
I don't know.
I like your answer.
I really don't. I don't.
We're not making any assumptions.
I haven't seen The Wiz, so I don't know.
Google The Wiz.
I'm going to make an assumption based on how you're asking me that maybe it like lines up more culturally with some of your taste that we've had in the past.
See, you two are in cahoots. We're just playing dumb this morning, and we're trying to come off real innocent. But I feel there's a lot of passive aggressiveness going on already.
Hot Danger says The Wiz is Black Wizard of Oz. Okay, that's fine. I've never seen it, so I had no frame of reference. Just the way you were asking me felt like, oh, this might be a black thing.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes you try and back me into a corner to make it look like I'm not as culturally sensitive as I really am.
Right. A lot of things go together, Ravi, and cultural sensitivity. I mean, just like peas and carrots. Jenny. Run, Forrest. Nobody better hurt by Jenny.
I may not be a smart man.
You can live with me if you want. This seat's taken. All right, we're gonna stop. We're gonna knock it off. It is.
Caden says The Wiz. That was for our black folk. LOL. Michael Jackson, the Scarecrow. So that was when Michael Jackson was still black.
Wow.
Surprise, surprise.
Right on cue, Mr. Sensitivity.
I was just asking.
Well, I would assume so.
Okay, well, I didn't know.
I
The timeline.
You
is,
weren't buying the whole vitiligo thing?
You know, it happened
You thought it was
remarkably
more like
even.
pasta?
It happened remarkably evenly across the skin. I've met people with that condition before. It's generally not how it goes.
You're not. I told myself when I got up this morning.
I'm just, you know.
I said, you know what? I'm gonna try to behave today.
How did that go?
Well, we're spiraling.
We're out here, right?
That's where the magic happens. I mean, our HR department has to be traumatized.
I think technically, since we're contractors, they're like, whatever.
We're out here.
That's not really on us.
So anyway, Shane, are you a little concerned about your Avalanche?
A little bit. I mean, they really needed. I personally think they needed that game because the last time they played them, they lost game 2 and then they lost the series.
Didn't they already steal
Did
back
you
home
read
court though?
Hedley Lamar, you gotta.
Yeah,
you have to know a little bit
I
about
did.
the backstory.
I did see that.
Hey, I'm off to go get some milk.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to
That
Colorado
was usually cigarettes.
for the next 2. So
I'm sorry, Shane. What?
it goes back to Colorado for the next 2 to answer your question. There,
Yeah, you
Robbie.
only needed one of the first 2. You're fine.
And why is it so hot in here? Did you hit the thermostat?
No, I did not. It's set at 68 like it always is.
So I came in a little hot. Obviously, Shane gassed the fire early.
You were hot before you even spoke to Shane.
Well, I heard one of the dumbest segments on radio.
And these are guys that you usually like.
Yeah, I rock with Kenny and Michelle and
They were on one today.
well, the question, and they were being serious.
Yeah, that's the hard part. I thought you were trying to trap me in some kind of a joke.
Yeah. Well, what's the question that I asked you?
You get as soon as you open the car door, you go, are the Jets or the Steelers a more functional franchise?
Yeah.
And I look at you and I go, what?
Yeah.
Because I felt like I was being trapped. It felt like bait. And then you're like, are the Jets or the Steelers a more functional franchise? And so I kind of looked at you. I go,
Tupac
well,
used to have a song called "Trapped."
the
You got me
Steelers.
trapped. It's not.
Obviously.
It's not even a question.
No,
is
the
it?
Jets are one of the most dysfunctional. I mean, you're literally on the 2 opposite sides of the spectrum.
And I get it. I think Kenny was trying to make the point that one guy had both franchises looking foolish.
Yeah.
But the Steelers, I mean, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, have been the model of consistency. That's now the knock that they've been so
Yeah,
consistent.
too consistent.
And I get it. He's like, one guy has just had, seemingly dangling both franchise. And listen,
His premise is flawed, though, because Aaron Rodgers has never played for the Steelers.
yeah, no,
That doesn't exist
He's
yet.
making a lot of assumptions about
Like, it's a flawed premise.
the Steelers kind of being in the dark, and maybe they are, maybe they aren't.
Now, if we're at here this time next year and the Steelers signed Aaron Rodgers and he ruins that model of consistency, then you can have a conversation about who's the more foolish, the fool or the fool who follows him, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a fair conversation to have at that point. But we're so far removed from that we're not. That's not. I don't even know where they come up with this stuff.
And listen,
The Jets are literally one of the worst franchises in NFL history in terms of how they're run.
yeah, correct.
And
Historically, like
that's
it has,
what I mean. Like
it has
across decades,
it's
across owners, across the history
and I
of the
found
league.
I found myself. I'm like, why would I let this affect my mood?
And the Steelers are the exact opposite.
But clearly, as I flung
They've had what
the
3
vehicle
coaches
door
in
open.
50 years.
and I'm yelling at you,
Yeah, I'm like, what's happening?
you're like, I can't hear you. How could you not have heard me? There's no one talking
So
out here.
no. Well, there's 2 things. Number one, you have traffic, so that was kind of causing an issue.
No,
On the interstate. No, the interstate
We're
traffic.
nestled. We're tucked.
Then I was hearing the interstate traffic, and then secondly, you know how you always tell Shane to like talk up?
Yes.
You were screaming directly into your door.
Was I screaming?
Who's the better franchise?
You make it seem like I'm crazy. It wasn't even really like that.
You came out steaming, Willie beaming. I thought you might break the door off. No, I'm just kidding.
Shane, is that funny?
Well, you did come in kind of hot.
Says this guy with the your mom jokes. You
Right.
both came in on a humbug. I'm just out here trying to keep the show on the air. I don't know what's happening.
Like, it's not even a debate.
No, it's not. That's why I don't
Now,
know.
if you would have said like the Saints or
Not really even the Saints. The Saints historically are a pretty poorly run franchise.
Yeah.
They had an outlier of a handful of years, but pretty historically they're a bad franchise.
I mean, no disrespect to Michael Severe.
No, we love Michael, but I think he would tell you the exact same thing.
The Saints are going to screw up the draft.
That's well, yeah. It seems like they're going to take a quarterback no matter what.
I don't know.
You don't think so?
Yeah.
With the Derek Carr thing, they're going to take a quarterback. I don't know who it's going to be.
A lot of smoke and mirrors. I haven't looked forward to this draft like this in a long time.
So you know me. I love the draft.
Yes,
I love the NFL draft. I love the NBA draft.
Yeah.
I love drafts.
Yeah.
I do feel like the 84-hour countdown that started yesterday might be a bit much.
It's a little much.
It's a little over. I was like, what's happening here?
At what pick does the draft start for you?
2, I think.
Really?
Yeah, because Cam Ward's going number 1. That's fine. I think Cleveland is probably going Hunter, although I think an Abdul Carter case can be made. You put
Giants takes the other.
Probably, unless they take a quarterback.
I don't know why you keep floating that.
Well,
sure.
I mean, they're having them visit, so I think that's a reasonable
That's fine.
thing to ask. Also, I don't think anybody's going, hey, we got Jameis and Russell Wilson. Let's ride.
Set.
We feel really good here.
Yeah.
So I do think a quarterback's in play at 3, but it's 2. I mean, and I do think that if, for whatever reason, Cleveland takes Carter over Travis Hunter, that does impact what the Giants will do. Like, I think if they have a preference.
Do we know any Giant? Well, Robin Washut.
I think that's the only one I know, or that I've even met.
Clearly an El Gigantes fan.
Yeah. They're not very popular around here.
Even with the Lawrence Taylor influence.
Well, maybe.
Well, you gotta understand though.
Maybe a lot of big fans at any given Sunday.
It didn't affect my play.
It sounds like it affected a speech pattern, though. My lord.
That will always be funny. I don't know why. I'm not laughing at addicts.
But you are
so
laughing
much
at Lawrence Taylor.
Because apparently it didn't affect you.
Allegedly.
There were times I'd be standing in the huddle, and instead of thinking what defense we were playing, I'd be thinking about smoking crack after the game.
Well, you gotta understand though. It didn't affect my play.
Started from the track.
Here's the question.
What?
Is it possible it helped?
It's
a stimulant, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying.
Sure.
I mean, baseball players have been basically taking amphetamines throughout all of history until like 10 years ago.
Is that so? Amphetamines are they're greenies, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, guys have been doing that forever.
Forever. And that's half a step below meth.
Mm.
Really. I mean, if we're being honest here.
So
I don't know. Maybe like a stimulant I could see being helpful, not hurtful. It's not like he was drunk during games. That would probably be rough.
Well, that's kind of the case. And I just can't subscribe. I used to talk about this with one of my roommates who is clearly for medicinal purposes.
He's early on the bandwagon. Good for him.
Would like to smoke.
Yeah.
And I would think to myself, you hear this a lot with the NBA. They got it out of the collecting and bargaining, drug testing. You hear it in the NFL with natural and holistic healing. I can't imagine how it would better your performance over the long haul. Like, you'd have a hard time convincing me of that.
So are you talking about if they were medicating before games?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know enough.
I'm not an expert in that arena. I will say.
But I have read a ton. There's so many contrasting reports.
So I will say I've met people who played high school football and did that before games.
Mm-hmm.
And there was
at the high school level, huh?
There was a part of
what high school did you go to?
They didn't go to Millard North. They would never. Salt of the earth. Met these hooligans after. But some would argue that it made them play better because it relaxed them. Like, I think if guys kind of rev a little anxiety ridden, that it could help them in that sense.
Yeah, okay.
That's my guess.
Haven't you heard like the driving commercials? Like, don't drive while high.
Yeah, famously driving and playing football are different.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about like you. I thought he might have laughed. I was gonna have to jump off.
So you're gonna choke him out?
Pull a WrestleMania or something. Be like stupid Travis Scott. by the way.
Not great.
No, I didn't ride with it though. I click, flip of the channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Zoe didn't make you watch it.
No, she was preoccupied because we were coming from my nephews and she had to get to bed.
Yeah.
So I didn't mess with her. She was out. But I got to go back to this franchise thing with the draft. So, Justen, crack is not a PED. No, I get it. I'm well aware.
I'm saying like a short term might make it a little.
You like his delivery, though?
Yeah. It's dehancing.
He's been on fire today.
Yeah, he's kind of coming across as pretty funny. But why? How do you know that that's how he talks? Because that's how he typed? How does it go again? It's what?
It's dehancing.
You say it like he's chastising you.
It felt a little chastising. I'm just saying.
Wow. Ralph Tresvant this morning. A little sensitive?
You ever, and then Caden says, seen a lot of crackheads in my time. Not sure how that would help you in a football game.
Wait, he's seen a lot of what?
He says crackheads.
Caden, where are you rolling, bud?
I don't know, but he's the one who told me what the whiz was.
Oh, so he might have some cultural diversity to him.
It's possible.
I don't want to
I don't wanna
associate
make
that with crack,
assumptions.
though.
No, but there's stereotypes that I wouldn't like to perpetuate, but other people may.
I mean, I don't know if you know this,
Mhm.
but we didn't start the whole crack thing.
No, I understand.
Those
that.
guys did.
Yeah, no, I
And
understand.
flooded the neighborhoods
Right.
with it.
And then you had these like
were
mandatory
those guys?
minimums where
Pardon?
Who are those guys?
guy's named Shane.
Um,
The Whites.
I don't know.
Shane, you can't just play like James Brown and think it's cool.
James Brown, a notorious partaker of
Music?
mind-altering things.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Nice pull though, Shane. I want to like your style today, but it was at my expense. And I know I talk about cheering for people,
Mhm.
even though it may be at your expense.
Yeah.
I'm not quite riding with you, but it's not bad. It's not bad.
Anthony
bad.
says the show talks about crack an awful lot. This is the first time, I think.
No, he's talking about famously Morgan Freeman and Sam's
Oh, yeah,
on
we
the
do
roof
do-
on
yeah.
the rooftop.
Smoke crack, don't you?
And every time we say something out of pocket, a lot of times that will come up.
Boys in the Hood.
Surprise, surprise.
Menace to Society?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, that's not it.
Oh, my bad. Lean on Me.
Correct.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Famous Samuel Jackson joint.
Yeah.
Um,
Expeditiously, son. You do know what that means, don't you? Expeditiously, fast, in a hurry.
Caden says, absolutely culturally diverse.
You know-
Caden is my grandson who jacked my account. My pick might scare your audience. I don't know what that means.
Kid might get you in trouble. You keep reading this stuff.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means.
Anyway, congratulations to your Boston Red Sox yesterday too, winning on their
On Marathon Day, Boston.
yeah,
Yeah, Boston Day.
very nice.
TK wants you to know, don't get hustled by a crackhead. So,
TK, I talked to TK early yesterday.
yeah.
Yeah, TK was picking my brain. I'm glad I could not cause him any harm. I always hope when people ask for my advice
Mhm.
that I'm not
That nothing
leading them
bad
down the
happens.
old yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that.
I feel better.
There's a burden,
Yeah,
a little bit, responsibility at least.
a smidge. Nah, let's not overdo it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're not that nice.
Nah.
Just keep pressing.
Before we set the lineup today, would you like?
Nah.
Did you see my friends?
Yeah, so you got Drake and Pat McAfee,
Mm-hmm.
or McAfee, as some people say it.
Yeah. So Zoe early on would say McAfee.
Yeah.
But now she knows it's McAfee.
So I grew up in a computer household. I don't know if you could tell. You have any comments? So McAfee was an antivirus software that was very popular at the time.
Are you sure that's how it was pronounced?
No, I'm not, but that's how I pronounced it. I think it is. I think it was McAfee. Was the antivirus software.
I don't think so.
I think so.
I don't. It was very famous. It's very popular.
It is. Yeah, it was.
I don't think that's how you
I
say
think
it.
it's McAfee.
Are you being serious?
I think so. I don't think it's McAfee. I think it's McAfee. Oh.
Your delivery drives me up the wall.
I don't know. I rolled with the Norton antivirus, so.
Oh, Big Norton.
Big
guy.
Norton
Yeah,
guy.
Big Norton, yeah.
You do have some American History X vibes to you. What?
We're out here. This is.
You hear the Wizard of Oz comment?
No, I did.
We gonna act like we didn't hear that?
No, I did. It's funny.
Big Edward Norton guy, Shane.
Yeah, a little bit.
I like him.
He's a
too.
good actor.
Yeah.
I actually like him. I rock with Norton.
He's not in a ton of stuff that I love, but he's a good actor.
Yeah, I think this weekend after I get back from Lincoln, which by the way, did you see the schedule?
I did.
Yeah, it's very fluid. There will be no Legends game.
Shoot.
Well, I told you this. I mean, dudes are terrified. I mean, absolutely terrified. I was talking to Dom yesterday. He called it like, I was walking in the house. It was like 5:30. We actually ended up talking about a lot of stuff. And coincidentally, remember what I said about, because this was actually the crux of the conversation. We were talking about like raising kids and trying to inform them with the best information possible. And then you just got to let it go.
Yeah.
So he said two things that I thought were very, very interesting with this Nico Iamaleava situation. I'll take a quick break and come back to that because
he weirdly is in a position to understand that situation better than almost anybody.
Almost anyone.
Yeah. Almost anybody in the entire world.
And he said two things.
Yeah.
And this was without listening to me or hearing what we said that I need to bring to the table because you and I talked about it.
We did.
And I'm curious to get your thoughts and then see how the media will handle it going forward. Because I believe it was celebrated yesterday. You know, him going to UCLA.
Yeah.
And I got some questions about that. And I get it. I'm the guy that says go where you're celebrated, not tolerated.
Yeah.
Well, me and Kevin Gates. But big fan of that sentiment.
We'll talk about Nico and a lot more coming next year on Hurrdat Sports Live.
What's your favorite part of Devaney?
Favorite part of Devaney? Probably my office, because if you look at the office, we're Danny's office now, but it's the only office in Lincoln. You can see the Capitol building and see the court in Devaney. Who else has that office and that view?
That's amazing.
Yeah. And there's nothing better on game day, the smell of popcorn. That's my other favorite part. When you start smelling the popcorn about 4 o'clock for a 7 o'clock match.
You never get some during the game?
No. After you smell it, you don't want any, but because you get tired of the smell. But that's all we always say that. Smell the popcorn. It's got to be a game day. And I think this is one of the cool parts of Devaney is this little alleyway right here. Is first of all, our players walk by this every day. We wanted to put this here so they would see this every day. And every day they're going out there to work, hopefully they're inspired to want to get their next picture up.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Mizuno and Oklahoma State softball story is a story of growth and success. After getting to visit the team this fall and watching practice and talking with Coach G, I am confident in this team this year.
The best you is really dang good. I mean, it's really good, okay? So just be that. No more, no less.
Lightning in my fingers, and I'm nice on my feet. Heavyweight big swinger, got you saying double while we're counting to 3.
Mizuno and Oklahoma State softball are built for big moments.
Brace yourself.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, reminding you if you're out on the roads this morning, get those seat belts buckled and make it click. It prevents injuries and saves lives. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. DB.
Yeah.
You had a question about Nico. You were talking to Dom.
Yeah. So there's two things.
Okay.
Right. That, I mean, this was kind of it was one of our, and we've had several.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of our more spirited discussions.
Okay.
Do you remember one of the things that I said? Well, that's actually a cute picture that Caden has. But anyway, I was momentarily distracted. You know, I can barely see. And you were very upset over the parental capacity and the adults in the room not being adults.
Yeah, I think they did him dirty.
And you kind of intimated, look, right, like now's about the time to hey, just do your own thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, it's not always that easy in father-son relationships. Like you can't just be like, I'm out.
No, I understand that.
So Dom said something yesterday that really caught my attention.
Mm-hmm.
He said, in that culture, you are told what to do. There are no...
Like Hawaiian, Samoan...
Is
that what he meant by...
Did he say Polynesian or did he say Samoan?
Okay.
Can't remember the term. It is important, though.
Sure, because there's some difference.
There's a distinction.
Yeah.
So the term that he used, that term,
mm-hmm.
he said in that culture, mm-hmm. you grow up doing this, 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 and this. There are no questions asked.
Mm-hmm.
So he gave me the inkling that he kind of felt bad.
For Nico.
Yes.
Not for the dad.
And he was it was one of the best conversations I had with him because he talked about this on the job. Because people think he's got it figured out, right? They think.
Dom.
Yes.
Yeah.
They think poster child, this,
he comes
that.
across as a pretty smooth operator and like he's got things
right
up.
Because he minds his own business.
Yeah. It's not messy.
And, he talked about this on the job training and how he learns every day and it's
mm-hmm.
something new. And then trying to instill the deal. But like, if knuckleheads are going to knucklehead, then at some point you got to wash your hands of it,
mm-hmm.
which I was very much a fan of because
mm-hmm.
I've talked about that with my own kids. Like, Sometimes you just got to let them step in it, and it's
how they learn.
And
it's hard
it's
to do
hard
as a parent. I imagine
it's very hard. So I thought that was interesting because we want Nico to do all these things, and he simply may not be able to.
So there's a couple things I want to clean up.
Well, go ahead then. Clean it up, Willie D.
Just do my janitor work here. What was the reference?
Willie D.
I don't know who that is.
So Willie D infamously was a performer with the group, as you tried to Google it, Ghetto Boys, Ghetto. But
it's not spelled that way.
It infamously is spelled Geto.
Yeah.
Well, Willie D used to sing a song. Singing is a loose term. Used to rhyme, talk fast, lullaby a song.
Perform song.
The Cleanup Man.
Yeah, so we're going to go Willie D here.
The Cleanup Man was about...
Like fourth in the batting order?
No. It was about guys that eat leftovers. Their friends' leftovers.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like notoriously coming through the back door and like, hey, I like you. And it's been part of the cleanup man.
A little messy.
Don't be the cleanup guy. In this case, I'll allow you to clean up and be Willie D.
I'm going to clean up some things from last week.
Ravi V. The cleanup man.
There's only one V in there. Anyway. I guess Ravi L doesn't have quite the same ring to it.
Oh, there was a Vindaloo joke in there, but I'm going to pass.
Not a huge Vindaloo fan. It's not my favorite. Probably going to go Tandoori if I've got an option.
2 O's.
Maybe. Tikka Vindaloo. Duval. Anyway, no, a couple things I wanted to clean up from last week. Number one, I'm not mad at Nico. I'm mad at his dad. I wasn't very clear about that last week, and I apologize. I communicate for a living. Should have been better. I'm mad at his dad. I'm putting all of this on dad / manager, agent, whatever. Like whoever's controlling the situation, which appears to be not Nico, that's who I'm mad at about not telling the truth and about filling everyone's head with nonsense. That's who I'm mad at.
Right.
Number two, I understand, not culturally, obviously, but I understand how difficult it can be to just say, hey, like we're kind of done here. My problem is there are a lot of times, whether it's in that culture and other cultures, where, and you see it sort of in general, where this blind loyalty to either certain people or certain family members screws you, like badly, right? And around the time where somebody costs me, I don't know, almost $2 million after taxes probably, is probably around the time I start questioning that relationship. You know, because I do think, and listen, I've been on this for a long time, and you know this about me, is I don't care about blood that much. I just don't. I'm pretty consistent on that.
Yeah. Sometimes I admire that. Sometimes I think it's a little cringe.
Yeah, sometimes you think I'm an a-hole, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm about the people that act like family, not the people that lean on the term family to make excuses. It's like, oh, hey, I'm your family. You got to be there for me. Or, hey, I'm your family. We got to stick together. It's like, hey, if you have to appeal to that term, you're not acting like family.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I got you.
You know, like, first of all, like if you're in a work environment and everybody's like, hey, we're a family, run for the hills. That means they're going to treat you like toxic. Like that's how it's like it's going to be a nuclear waste facility, right? Get the F out. If somebody actually is treating you like family, they're never going to have to appeal to that, ever. I believe that to my soul. And there's a lot of people that treat me like family I don't share any DNA with, right? And there's a lot of people that...
As in deoxynucleic acid?
Exactly.
Okay.
You know, those helixes, the double ones.
Understand.
You know, and there's a lot of
big
people...
double strand guy?
That I do, yeah.
Bless you, Shane.
That I do share DNA with, I want nothing to do with, right? So there's like, I get that I'm weird in that sense, not just in their culture, but in most cultures, that I'm an outlier there.
We share a little bit of that sentiment, but I'm closer to, just because somebody calls you something, that doesn't mean you are something.
That doesn't mean you owe them something either. That's the big thing.
I'm with you there.
And I get that Nico's dad has probably been good to him, or he thinks he's been good to him up to this point. So I understand it's not as simple and as clean as that. But if there's any time when you need to start asking some questions of yourself, it's probably when you're in college and learning some things about yourself as a person and as a man. And it's probably when your dad has cost you somewhere between $1.5 and $2 million. Like, that's probably a good time to be like, hey, the dynamics of this relationship might not work for me anymore. I'm not saying we can't have a relationship, but some things need to change. And so I appreciate, I don't know Dom, never met him, but I appreciate, at least from the outside looking in, being from similar cultures, if not the same, because I don't know what term he used, but being from similar cultures where I imagine there's some overlap there, that he's found a way to allow Dylan to kind of go through his own things and to commit to a couple different schools and decide, no, I'm not going to force his hand there, right? If he's in that same culture, it'd be really easy to be like, hey, go to Nebraska. Go save my alma mater. Go do the thing that I need you to do. Go do the thing that everybody who I played with is begging me to have you do. He didn't do that. He said, hey, we're cool when you're committed to Ohio State. We're cool when you're committed to Georgia. As far as I know, as the story goes, Dom was one of the last people to know that Dylan was thinking about Nebraska again. So, like, I take these two families from similar cultures and see how differently the fathers have operated. Listen, if you're going to have that type of dynamic within your culture, that is a huge responsibility on the father not to F it up. And Nico's dad has, royally. And he's screwed his son, and maybe it'll still work out. If Nico is the guy that so many people think he is, it'll still work out because the talent will win. But, man, he's put him in a real bad spot. And long term, if it doesn't work out, he has probably cost him a chance to parlay this point of his life into wealth that could last him the rest of his life. Like, there's a big difference from $2.4 million in Tennessee to $1 million or $1.5 million or whatever he's making in California. California is going to take a big chunk of that. And you were gonna have an opportunity. He still does, but you had a better opportunity to set yourself up for life if he never played it down in the NFL because of what he was getting at Tennessee versus what he's getting at UCLA. That is a major life F up on the dad's part.
And here's the other thing. And I want to be careful with this because the question was posed to me, and I'll turn it around and say it's very similar to what I asked you. But I didn't really ask you a question. When Nico was going through this thing last week, and we're panicking over the landscape of college changing, and this is what's wrong, and I was mad as hell. Right? Did you like that?
That was a good one.
My man.
Appreciate you. In the world is crumbling. What I tell you to keep an eye on? I said keep an eye on the coach that takes
him on.
That takes on.
That's why I didn't think he was going to UCLA, because I didn't think Deshaun Foster was that guy.
Apparently he is, though.
Yeah, or the people around him have
and he's going
to
get a pass in this whole deal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really?
I think it's damning. I really do.
We're so we can't.
You know who I thought it was going to be?
So Deshaun Foster gets a pass.
Not for me.
And Dom goes, he asked me as though he was bothered. He goes, DB, I mean, so we're just cool with Deshaun Foster. And I said, I'm going crazy because trying to get ready for dinner. I'm like, Dom, this is what I just talked about last week. Like, I'm dead serious. Like, whomever takes that on, under those situations this quickly,
immediate red flag for me.
It's got to be a red flag.
Immediate red flag for me. It's why I didn't think he was going to go to UCLA, because from what we knew about Deshaun Foster,
I just felt good.
Yeah.
About not being far-fetched. And he, and Dom was like, I talked to such and such and such. I'm talking about like guys we see on television every day. And he's like, they're floored that the coaches aren't better. They're not really blaming the young people so much. Did you see the basketball transfer portal stat that Dellinger tweeted out after the 4-year or the 5-year study since 2019? How 65% of the guys at Division I that transfer end up going to a lower level destination. 65%.
It's 2/3.
And that doesn't even count the guys that are left.
Yeah, they're just not in, that don't go anywhere.
And I'll take it one step further. And this is anecdotal. I'll tell you that football is substantially worse.
I believe that. I believe that.
Substantially worse. And guys still do it.
I think you have way more guys in basketball that come up from low majors or D2s or
Yeah.
NAIs than you do in football.
Oh,
there's way more that make that jump than they do in football.
Not as many Andrew Marshalls.
No.
Right? But we like at some point, this was my argument last week. At some point, if the adults want to seize control and take it back, they will reach a point.
Yeah, there's a boiling point.
And Kirby Smart, ironically, is the guy that I used.
Yeah.
A guy that had gamed the system, had mastered the system,
figured it out,
is all of a sudden waking up
in a different world.
And he's like, what the actual heck is going on? Guys, I'm looking for guys to raise their hand, and barely anybody's got their hand up. Who's been through 3 of Georgia's? Who's been here for 3 springs? This is what he's saying.
Not a lot.
Now, how did that sneak up on Coach Smart? And to his credit, I'm not disparaging the honesty. I'm like, this is what happens when you played the game so long, you figure it's just how you do business, and then all of a sudden you wake up and it's like, man, this kind of sucks.
Georgia's also the other side of the transfer portal, right? They're where a lot of guys are coming from.
Correct.
Right? You know, so there's like, this was, even if Kirby Smart does everything right, this is sort of inevitable when you're as good as they were, right? Because there's really no way for you to
Todd is out here tripping.
There's really no way for you to time it in a way that allows you to both play at that high of a level, send that many guys to the NFL, send that many guys to the NFL early, and then still develop guys on the back end. The timing doesn't work out because if you're on a 3 or 4 year time frame, but you've got guys leaving early, but you're still getting 5-star guys in, those guys don't want to sit for very long for the most part, right? So you're kind of constantly in this weird churn. So Georgia's in a really unique spot, and I really don't think Kirby Smart did anything wrong. I think it was inevitable. At some point, and we used to see it with high school recruiting, if you had these super high-level guys that were going to end up sitting for too long, it's really what ends up being the erosion of almost any great program is they're like, I don't want to sit for 2 years.
Yeah.
And so instead of stockpiling guys, things get a little thinner, and then guys go to the NFL early, and all of a sudden there's a gap.
Thin. Have you ever seen Thinner?
No.
John Lithgow?
No.
He was talking to a gypsy, and he cursed him with a pie, and he rubbed his skin, and he said, thinner. That's exactly how he said it.
Never seen it.
It's pretty good.
TK says he would pay any amount of money to see Tennessee play UCLA this year.
Not so much. Do you know what I want to see?
What's that?
Again, because I want it to come to fruition. I need UCLA to implode this year.
Sure.
But I have to be careful. I tell myself this. Be careful. Don't be self-righteous because UCLA is on Nebraska's schedule. If Nebraska gets mollywopped by UCLA, this conversation is going to come back and tap me on the shoulder and be like, now, why did you say that stuff in the offseason?
Sure. Yeah.
But what I need to have happen is, you see, what had happened was.
I wasn't going to do it.
Were you going to do the voice too?
Of course not. Never.
Can you just do a regular voice?
See, what had happened was. Duval.
Dude, it is so bad. I mean, it is so bad.
What'd I do?
HR just has to cringe.
If I throw like an Indian voice in there every once in a while, is that cool?
What's an Indian voice?
Well, you know.
By the way, I didn't send you that recipe. I wanted you to help me sort through.
There's a bit of an accent, you know.
Anyway, I need for UCLA to kind of implode.
Sure.
Like it's just a disruptive locker. I need something.
Yeah, you need some.
Because do you know what I want to happen? I want the market to reset.
Yeah, you want.
I want coaches to get back and to stay out of people's. I'm learning so much more. There's lots of things that I thought. Okay, and there was little bits of pieces here and little bits of pieces here. And being as close as I am right now with Marty, it's all real.
All the things you'd heard.
Oh, it's all real.
Yeah.
Coaches ahead of time, and which is why I'm so glad that during the courting process of guys in the portal, and it's not just a Marty Brown thing, but you can definitely tell. I had a fantastic conversation with Schaefer yesterday. It was probably, I don't know, I bet it was an hour. Right? And he kept saying, hey, I don't want to take too much. I'm like, Fudge, I'm learning as much as you are. Let's keep this bad boy going.
Mike J., who we'll talk to later in the show.
Oh, yeah, he is today.
Yep, Tuesday at 9.
It's funny. But anyway, let me stay dialed. So we're talking about kind of this process with Nebraska. You and I got into it pretty heavy yesterday about the in-state recruiting, but it's recruiting in general. And I said, I think they want people that love the university as much as they do, because their way to offset the transactional world of the portal and NIL is to make this
feel like home
and feel a lot like they're not using it as a way to state their case because they don't want toxicity, but they want to make you feel like you're part of the
family,
yeah. Which I know.
It's a little,
But there's no DNA shared.
No, because if they treat you like,
there's no literal DNA shared, but the DNA is
of the program.
Is of the program.
That's the culture.
That's how they want to offset it.
And if they treat you like family, I don't have a problem with them calling it that.
So when they're courting guys, and you may not be feeling as much quote unquote love, like Buddy, from as other schools,
like we're gonna go Caleb Love,
not
big
a fan. Not a fan. Not a fan. Wish him the best though. Former Chapel Hill great.
Well, great's aggressive.
Great stints.
Sure.
I mean,
flashes.
Yeah, he was
very
he was really good in March. It's okay. Like you still have to see it. You may not feel it, but I always tell people, man, I see better than I hear, and I can't see worth a damn. Right? You can tell me anything.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that too with my own actions. Right. I know I'm going to be held to the same standard. It's like, well, you didn't do this, this, and this. And I'm like, yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Right? That must be where my interest lies. Right. So the process for Nebraska as they attack the portal will be very much through patience. They may not run down and get one. They may walk and try to get them all. And that's going to come with some losses.
Yeah.
That's going to come with some losses. But I think, thank the Lord, at least up to this point. Now they go 3-9 this year. All bets are off.
Yep.
They're to the point now where they're not compromising the culture. They like the direction it's moving. That's why he can say things like, this is the team I've been waiting for. He can say that and be comfortable because he's starting to see it police itself. And guys get uncomfortable. Like if you're trying to be something that you're not in this culture, let's not act like he didn't low-key, passive-aggressively talk about his plight as a coach and shutting his mouth while he was learning the tricks of the trade. And then to wait till he was acclimated enough to start to pipe up.
To have an input, yeah.
You don't think he's talking about coaches and players that come to that university
and think they know how to do things?
Be quiet for a little bit. Let's just see how we do business. Then come to me with what you think. I'll more than listen because he will. But he didn't say that by accident.
Yeah.
So those are the people that he's courting. So what I need to have happen is I was cheering like crazy for Ohio State to just be dysfunctional. Right? Like, oh, man, they're so disjointed and something's going on with the defense with Knowles and Larry Johnson and these guys. And now I was right about one thing. Denzel Ward is highly overrated, which I'd intimated.
Yeah.
But they fixed the Knowles thing.
Yeah.
They started with the adults because the kids were clearly loving their head coach.
Yeah.
The kids were riding with Ryan Day.
Absolutely.
So what did he do?
He fixed the adults.
He fixed the adults.
And then everything was fine.
And it appears,
at least for long enough to win a national title.
But he didn't blame the kids. He started. That's why I can respect. I can respect Ryan Day.
Yeah, I don't have any problems with Ryan Day.
He's like, look, this is clearly not working.
Mm-hmm.
It is trickling down to my players. They see it. I got to fix this.
And clearly, he's good enough relationally that they wanted to ride for him.
100%.
That's the thing that stood out the most to me.
Yeah. So the competitor in me is like, oh man, come on, implode Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Like win Notre Dame. Like show that the bond is greater than the talent. Well,
when you got the bond and the talent, you're in trouble.
Right.
There's nothing that's the secret sauce.
So I need a few more. Like I was hoping another great coach melted down and retired, like Saban.
Just pieced out.
Yeah, I'm like, because at some point, people will look around and say, man, this thing is broken.
Do I want to keep doing this?
We can't subscribe to this tomfoolery.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, I think it's going to happen. Like I'm still the water's going to find its level. We will. This stuff will quietly go away. You watch. It will quietly go away.
And I think part of it finding its level, on the opposite side, you mentioned how you want UCLA to implode. It's part of the reason I need Nebraska to win.
No, I am.
You know what I mean?
I kind of low key like that. I didn't go back and get it when you said it.
Yeah.
As kind of what you need Nebraska to do now, if you're gonna operate like this, is win.
Yeah.
Now there's still enough other teams out there that are doing it. I referenced Iowa. I know that's terrible, but Iowa's finding a way to be successful. I think Penn State is finding a way. Notre Dame gets their fair share of supplements, but their coach's message is pretty clear. Like there's still enough out there of this, and wholesome isn't the word, but of this
culture
first, which I think it can work, which is why I hope the Miamis of the world never win.
Yeah. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're going to talk to Justen Gammel coming up next, NFL draft analyst. Talking a little NFL draft, which if you're watching ESPN, we're now under 60 hours away from the NFL draft. We'll talk to Justen coming up next.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Okay, here with Austin Kaiser. Austin, pretty big win, EMC semifinal over Elkhorn North, which has been a little bit of a rivalry for you guys. What was your thought process coming into this game?
Yeah, the first game we won 2-0, so we knew it was going to be a battle, so we just stuck to the game plan and put our chances in early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you put your chances in early for sure with a hat trick. So what were you seeing out there? I guess what was open for you?
Yeah, they started man marking me at the start of the game, so I tried to get in behind and it worked. And then Rowan found me 3 times, I think. So
It was all three for him. Yes. Now moving on, I guess, to the final against Hastings. It actually had you haven't seen it yet, but a PK with 50 seconds left to win. What do you know about Hastings, and what are you looking forward to in that one?
Yeah, we played them last year. They're really good. So they're undefeated, and we're excited to go over there and play them.
Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. We are joined now by Justen Gammel. He's an NFL draft analyst. Justen, how are you this morning?
Hey, I'm a little tired. I'm an hour behind you guys, and I stayed up watching my Avalanche lose to the Stars. But I'm happy to talk about the draft.
I tell you what, our producer is a diehard Avalanche fan, and I tease him all the time about, hey, is today the day that Landeskog comes back? And he gives me this eye roll, and gonna be another scratch. I keep telling him any day now, any day, but. There's going to be
maybe Wednesday, maybe Friday, whenever they switches back to Colorado, maybe we'll see Landy come in the lineup.
I was a big fan of this being the most, entertaining series, and I'm fully aware of Tampa Bay and Florida and the vitriol and the post Stanley Cup season success, but for like style of play and skill level, and I get it, the Stars aren't healthy. This series is going to be fantastic.
Oh my God! Last night was a perfect example of these two teams know each other so well, and they're both so talented. And the goaltending, the Avs finally have a goalie that can snag them games, so it's not a one-sided thing anymore.
Yeah, nice little bonus getting some hockey talk with JG. so my partner, he is exhausted with the 85-hour countdown to the draft, and I told him, like, where have we been all off season? Where some people are on like their 7th mock. When you look at, or 8th or 10th or some inordinate number of mock drafts, when you look at, as we're getting close to Thursday, do you feel like you know more or less than you did, let's say, 3 weeks ago?
Ooh, right about probably the same amount, which is almost nothing.
It's crazy.
Every mock draft is different. Every person you talk to hears something different, and now we hear more about a few different players have medical red flags, or a few different players have character, not even red flags, just little quirks about them, and you hear, well, certain teams feel this about that, or certain teams don't feel this about that. So I don't know what's going on, and I hate that, because normally I have a little bit of an idea. I've been doing this since 2014, 2015, and I have my connections, and sometimes I'm like, I know what'll happen here. I have a good idea of what this team thinks of this. This year, I just don't know. I don't. Every mock from every big analyst is different, so that just tells you where we're at right now.
So, DB asked me this question earlier. After Cam Ward at 1 to Tennessee, is there any confidence in any pick after that, or where do you start shrugging your shoulder and go, I don't know?
I do think Cleveland. I think 2 and 3 feel pretty.
They'll just flip flop, right? Whomever the other doesn't take.
I think Cleveland is going to take Travis Hunter. I really, really do, and I think the Giants
will take
Abdul Carter.
I agree,
but it feels like that's almost so locked in that the Giants are hiding something, and we might see a wild card pick there, whether it's Shedeur, which I don't think it'll be that, but I do know that Abdul Carter had that, the shoulder injury, the foot injury. I don't have as much confidence in the Giants taking Abdul Carter as I wish I did.
So you mentioned Shedeur there. There's reports that come out in the last couple of days that, Todd McShay was talking to a couple teams, and he goes, yeah, they just don't feel like he cared what they thought about him. Is that good, bad, indifferent? Like, what does that mean? Because it seems strange.
I think at first, Shedeur absolutely thought he was a top 5 pick. I really do. And then as the process goes on, he's realizing, oh shoot, teams do not view me as high as I might have viewed myself, or the media might have viewed me initially. And so he's realizing, or he thought early on, like, I don't have to care where this team in the 20s, or I don't have to care about this opinion of like what the team in the 20s is thinking of me. And now it's like, well, you might have to. You might be a late trade back into the first round type of player versus the top 10 pick. And, Shedeur is his own guy. He kind of marches to the beat of his own drum, so to speak. So I think it was kind of a whirlwind process for him, because I have a buddy that works for one NFC team, and he said, we think Shedeur is a day 2 player. And, that's crazy to hear, because the media had him going top 2, top 3 forever. And then all of a sudden the big drop comes in because, you finish up all the tape, you hear from teams, and it's like, he's not thought of that highly around the league for sure.
Let me ask you something about, and I get the word safe. I don't want to get into semantics because it is relative, but of guys that you hear the but seem to be in the top 8 or 9-ish picks, do you feel more comfortable about Will Campbell or Mason Graham?
That's funny you throw those two guys on me, because those two have been polarizing.
Right.
So the thing about Will Campbell to me is, even before the measurements, his tape was average, and I could tell how short his arms were going to be. So for me, he was always the guy where I'm like, you don't take him in the top 10. You absolutely do not. Where Mason Graham doesn't have elite tools. He doesn't have elite traits. I don't think he projects to be an elite NFL defensive lineman, but I think he is safe in that you know what you're getting. You're getting an effort player. You're getting a culture guy. You're getting a guy who's a technician, a savvy run defender. He probably is not going to be, in the Chris Jones, Quinnen Williams tier, Jeffrey Simmons tier, but he's going to be below that, where he's going to be like an old school throwback of Kyle Williams when Kyle Williams was on the Bills, or something like that, where you're getting a great player. You just can't expect him to take over games. I think Mason Graham is, as much as we can rely on that word, safe when you look at his projection.
Speaking of tools and guys that actually do have them, Shamar Stewart is a really polarized. Speaking of polarizing picks, you put out a tweet about him yesterday or a couple days ago that I thought was interesting. So you've got tools, and then you've got production, and then you've got tape, right? And for production, I'm calling that stats, right?
Yeah.
Where are the areas where Shamar Stewart shines? Because obviously we know the tools, the stats really aren't there. What does the tape tell you about him, though?
I mean, the funny thing about Shamar Stewart is his motor runs hot. He goes balls to the wall the whole game. When a lot of these guys, when you don't see production, you're like, well, his motor, he gives up a lot. His motor's hot and cold. This dude is all over the place. He's an elite run defender. He has an elite set of, the height, weight, speed is insane. The length is insane. Like I said, as a run defender, you're getting an elite player. He, even in a ton of their games, had a lot of pass rush wins, where granted, a lot of them are bull rushes, long arms. He really doesn't have a full bag of the ghost movie. He doesn't have a lot of pretty stuff, but he wins a lot. It's just, they played a lot of mobile quarterbacks. He's in contain a ton. When it's RPO stuff, the ball comes out immediately. So he'll beat, a tackle and balls out. And you're like, all right, well, that was an easy sack had the quarterback not got rid of the ball. He beat Will Campbell quite a few times in their matchup. He beat Armand Membu, who's going to be a top 10 pick in their matchup. But the ball's out. It's college. It's a whole different game than the NFL. It's not a lot of true drop back stuff. So it's like there's enough flashes where if you can convince yourself, we can get this guy to finish. The NFL is a little different. I can coach him up. I feel like, to me, he's a top 10 pick. I know some people don't see it that way just because of the stat sheet, but there is more than enough there on the tape to say, all right, he's winning. It's just, it didn't lead to production, but why was that? And there's a lot of actually valid reasons to, kind of justify it for me, at least.
All right, I get. I'm one of these guys. I fully understand that if you force feed something, eventually those people will eat. Right? It's fine. Right? So Warren and his targets and moving all around Penn State's offense, and I get it. I mean, the stats are going to be there. I'm just as a Big Ten honk. Right, I'm watching these guys, and I fell in love with him because his coming out party was against Nebraska. But you got to walk me through, what am I missing when I'm going to take this to my grave, hopefully, that Loveland is a better NFL prospect as a tight end than Warren.
You're preaching to the choir here.
I'm all like, remember him a couple years ago against Nebraska? I'm like, holy smoke, this guy is unbelievable. Like he's legit.
Warren's the classic. I mean, so he did have a weird breakout where it's like this year he just explodes. And I think the reason for that is he's not a special athlete. He's a special football player in that, he can do anything. Like this guy is one of those guys when like you go to the park and play with your buddies, like he's a monster. He can do anything. He plays quarterback. He plays defense. He's lining up everywhere. And, he's amazing just because like what can't this guy do? But when you project him to the NFL, even at Penn State, I'm like, all right, there's not a lot of special physical traits here. He's not super speedy. He's not super quick. He doesn't have amazing change of direction. He doesn't have the length that Colston Loveland does. There's a lot of what we call empty calorie receptions where
that's the force feeding thing. Yeah.
They're just forcing the ball to him, which is awesome. He does a lot for them, and he's an easy way to get, your young quarterback comfortable because you're not throwing to the boundary a ton. You're getting him these weird carries and receptions and wildcat quarterback stuff. But I don't feel like moving forward you can take, unless the medicals are bad for Colston Loveland, which we've heard some things. But I think Colston Loveland does definitely project as a better tight end with the length, with the size, with the speed, and the ability to get up the seam and get vertical. I would take Colston Loveland every day of the week as well. I just think Tyler Warren's an awesome football player, but he's going to have a little tougher time separating and just getting open, plain and simple in the NFL. It's going to be tougher for him.
Justin, I think there's some people that view tight end as one of the stronger positions in the draft. Obviously, quarterback isn't a strength in this draft. What spots do you look at and say, hey, I really like either the top end talent or the depth of this position group in this draft?
The edge rusher is insanely deep. The edge rusher is so deep, and there's so many different types of players. You've got Shamar Stewart and Michael Williams, who are the big, long freaks, and both kind of lack that production. You have Jalen Walker, who played at Georgia, who's versatile, to a degree, but extremely undersized. And then you have like Mike Green, James Pierce, the speed rushers. There's a bunch of flavors of edge rusher. And then running back obviously is the other group where it's like, when do the starter grades stop coming out on these guys? You can in the middle of day 3, I'm like, there's Bajal Tootin from Virginia Tech who ran in the 4.3s, who's got the size that you would look for in a feature back, so to speak. And then you have Dylan Sampson from Tennessee, who's probably also going to be a day 3 guy. But you have, the top of the list, which is Trevion Henderson and Ashton Genty. The running backs are super, super deep. And again, it's like a bunch of different flavors of ice cream there where I don't think anyone can really predict what the order of those guys is going to be when they come off the board. It's just a bunch of talented dudes. And, now we're hearing teams want to trade up for Genty. And that doesn't shock me. He's an amazing running back prospect. It's a good class, but if you have that high of a grade on him, because he kind of feels like he separated himself from the pack. So I don't know. That's the main group where I'm like, I just can't wait to see who takes these guys and in what order, because that's always when you go back, to previous classes, you're like, I want to see the order of when these receivers came off the board, when these guys came off, because it's interesting to look at teams' processes.
Oh, man, I didn't even include my sleeper of that bunch because I'm a big running backs guy, and that's R.J. Harvey.
I love R.J. Harvey.
Yeah, I used to do.
What about Woody Marks? That's your guy, I thought.
He is. I like both Marks and Harvey, but for different reasons. Marks is a much better inside runner than I think people think, and so he would be a good zone guy. But Harvey is more explosive where, you could put him just about anywhere. But let me ask
Harvey's
you.
that guy you bust out late in the game, and he just wears the defense out. They're
Right?
not ready for that type of speed. They're not ready. Yeah.
Well, so
He's awesome.
So I kind of like the defensive tackle depth. I don't know how elite it is, but I do think it's pretty deep. And for instance, like I would ask you, what's the difference between, for you, a guy like Walter Nolan and a guy like Derek Harmon?
Derek Harmon is, what does he have, like 35-inch arms? I mean, what a freak. A big monster of a dude who probably can play pretty much anywhere along the line. But
Shoot, you could probably put Kenneth Grant in that discussion too. I mean, they're all right there.
Right. I think Derek Harmon is probably a 3-tech, but he could also play 5. And, you can put him in a lot of different schemes because of that length. But I think if you're looking for a guy that has the tools and traits to project, to be a pure upfield gap shooter, disruptor, that's Walter Nolan. The lower body is loose. The upper body is flexible. There's just a lot to work with there. Where Derek Harmon, you're probably getting more of a run stopper first, and then you're going to work on what he can be as a pass rusher. But the pure disruption you're going to get from Walter Nolan, hopefully, the projection is that could be elite. Kenneth Grant I like, but he does play a little narrow, a little high. He didn't test like the freak we heard he was going to be. So, people compared him to Dexter Lawrence, but I think we got to pump the brakes on that the floor is probably a little lower than we thought for Kenneth Grant. The tools are still awesome, but I do think we jumped the gun a little bit with him at first.
Hard to believe. Michigan is going to have 2 defensive linemen go in the first round.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I get it. The offense struggled, but that's a pretty good roster.
The draft picks that we're going to look at, looking back and say, all these guys went to Michigan?
Yep. Yeah.
It's going to be wild this year.
Yeah. If only they had a quarterback.
Let me ask you something, Justin, because I said this, I don't know when this is, probably January, and this was before the buzz on Jackson Dart. And I said, Jackson Dart is probably closer to being 2 in terms of quarterbacks, closer to Shedeur than Shedeur is to being taken before Cam Ward. So you got to give me a little grace on the time frame. This was January. But how true do you think that is? And you can just start with maybe the difference between Sanders as QB2 versus Dart as QB2. They do it in a little different way. Dart's the pocket climber and constantly pressing forward, but they do seem to have some similar ways in how they get it done.
Look at you ahead of the game back in January. No, Dart's interesting. He's an athlete. First off, like the guy, he's an underrated athlete. We always say that about the white guys, but he's an underrated athlete where when he takes off, there's he can do some real damage with his legs. His arm is live. It's not elite or anything like that, but it's live. He can throw on the run. He can change the arm slot, change the angle. But he comes from that Lane Kiffin system at Ole Miss where it's like, it's so manufactured where, he snaps the ball. He knows where he's going with it. This guy's supposed to be open. So he's kind of clearly behind the 8 ball when it comes to projecting that to the NFL. He's going to have a big learning curve where Shedeur played in a more pro-style system, but he's not quite the athlete that Dart is. His arm is well below what Dart's is. He's like the pure point guard when you look at what quarterbacks are. The only issue, so this is what I kind of realized watching Shedeur this year. Shedeur needs to be that pure point guard where, like Joe Burrow, snap the ball, know where you're going with it, get the ball out, live in the short game, live in the short to intermediate. The problem is he thinks of himself differently. He's constantly extending plays, constantly looking for the home run, but he doesn't have the arm to deliver it. So I think it's going to be weird to see. It's going to be interesting to see him get to the NFL and kind of have that humility or that gut check and say, what am I? What can I really actually be versus what have I been trying to do my whole career? And I think that's why some teams are like, well, we'll just take Dart, the guy with the tools, the mobility, and we'll coach him up versus trying to figure out what we can get out of Shedeur when his tools don't really match up to the guy that he thinks he is so far.
So if I set the over-under at 2.5 quarterbacks in the first round, would you take the over?
I think I would take the under. Obviously, we know Cam Ward's going. I think Jackson Dart gets into the last half, and I think that's it.
Who goes before who? So you don't think Shuck has a chance to run down Dart?
No, I don't. I would have said 2 weeks ago, I would have said yes, there's a chance right now. From everything I know, which probably is nothing compared to what I should know, I don't think Shuck has that chance. I don't. I think that he ends up in day 2. There's too many red flags with Shuck, the age. There's a few medical things that are just minor, but I don't think that he ends up in round 1.
So, Justin, let me ask you this, because there's one quarterback we haven't mentioned yet that I think is a total wild card.
And if you bring up Pittsburgh, you're off.
Is a total wild card in this, and that's Jalen Milroe. Some people think he might climb into the first round. Some people think he's a round 3 or 4 pick. Is he the one variable that you look at and you go, I have no idea who views him in what light and where he might go, or where do you see Jalen Milroe?
Yeah, he's absolutely the wild card. The tools are pretty cool, all right, he can throw far, and he can throw hard, and he can run fast, and he's big. But the tape was atrocious, and he regressed from year 1 to year 2 as far as these last 2 years. But each year we see teams convince themselves on guys with tools. And we're hearing that already again this year, where it's like he went from, after the Senior Bowl, it was like, all right, he's a day 3 guy, to now who's going to sneak into the back half of the first round and grab him. That's insane to me. But I'm not, I saw E.J. Manuel go in the first round. I saw Johnny Manziel go in the first round after being a little guy with
Christian Ponder.
Yeah,
Jake Locker.
We can't rule anything out. But
So,
I would be so shocked.
Let me ask you this, because I have this. I was not an Anthony Richardson guy by any means. Is the difference in terms of, I know Richardson's tools are otherworldly and whatever, but is the difference between a guy like him and a guy like Jalen Milroe is we just saw too much of Jalen Milroe? If he's only got, how many starts did Anthony Richardson have? 10? If he's only got 10 starts, are we talking about him as a first half of the top round guy because we're like, oh my God, the tools?
Not for me. For me, it's a completely different. It was a difference in the feel of how they feel the game. Anthony Richardson knew how to drop back, and he knew how to avoid pressure and keep his eyes downfield and deliver the ball. Granted, he's inaccurate as heck, but Jalen Milroe is not that guy. Jalen Milroe drops back, and watching on film, I'm like, man, every single play, his process is different. There is no game plan here. It's like a series of random plays when you put his tape together. And that's the hard part, is he doesn't feel pressure. He doesn't know where he's supposed to go with the ball, or he does, and he kind of forces it, and he looks really mechanical and robotic. It's just, you're getting something new every play with him. And that's what bothers me, is just the guy has no feel for the quarterback position yet. He's just out there winging it, and he's a good athlete, and that's awesome, and that keeps him going. But you watch the LSU game, and it's like, all right, he had 700 rushing yards. That's cool. But then you watch a different game, and they contained him well, and now he's like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And that's where it's like, dude, you've been in college for a bit. We thought we were going to get progression from you this year, and it feels like we're back to freshman year. And, and that's where it's like, what do you, as a team, what are you selling yourself on here? Just the tools? Because I don't know if they're that good, where it's like, they're not Richardson good, where you can say, all right, we're still taking them top 10. I don't see that.
Is there a player in the top 5? Because, if you take Jacksonville, and I'm gonna keep New England in there because this is the post-Belichick era, and they're already on their second coach. Okay, so I'm gonna take the Patriot way out. But you got Jacksonville, you have the Patriots, you have the Giants, you have Cleveland, and clearly you have Tennessee. Is there a player that they could take that can overcome the franchise's, not history, but kind of as they're currently functioning as a franchise? Because a lot of times with the draft, it is all about the fit, but these are obviously some shaky franchises at the top.
Oh, I agree 100%. The big wild card for me that I would love, I would love for New England to just say, we're going to take the freak and we're going to go get Shamar Stewart at 4.
He fits with his coach's personality.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, and you're a team that needs so much help at so many different areas. Why not start young, athletic, freaky? Like, go swing for the fences. And then even Jacksonville, I hate this pick, but for some reason I'm like, do it. Take Tet McMillan at 5.
Oh, wow.
I think that's a huge reach.
Oh.
But I've heard some buzz. If they get him and you pair him with a Brian Thomas Jr., that would be just personally, I'm like, that would be very cool. And
All right,
I've heard a few little tidbits about that, so I'm like, I don't know.
You just threw my next question. I have to table this for a second. Shoot.
Okay.
Shane, just remind me, just say Raiders when it comes back to me. That is interesting because we have yet to get into the wide receivers, and I'm a little leery of the skill in this draft. If it were me, I would be very patient. I would try to go up front, right? I'm going to go O-line, D-line. I want to be a lot like the Eagles, which is like, why wouldn't you, like, build interiorly? But
right,
the wide receivers seem to have so much variance in how we feel about him. And you pick the guy, one, that people have the most hand-wringing about. What is it about Tet where you think, all right, I get the comps to the negative about why he may not work. What are the comps to the good that lead you to believe he could be different with his body type and style of play?
Well, he's built like Michael Phelps, where it's like his upper body, like he's so long and he's so low cut, which is unusual, where he kind of has a little
That's a
more.
great
He has
term.
the advantage. Yeah, he has this advantage where in the short area, he's quicker and a little more functional than a lot of these big guys. But his arms, I mean, the way he can elevate and use his length and his body control is just, he looks like a volleyball player. He looks like a basketball player, and that's what he was. So it's like you see this dude on the boundary that it's like, what? When we throw back shoulder balls, like, he's perfect. This is what we want. And so he's, that T. Higgins. I don't like the Mike Evans comp. He's not as fast and explosive as Mike, but he honestly catches the ball better. Mike Evans had a lot of hands questions coming out of A&M, and even through his career, we see him with those, random drops where Tet is sure-handed. It's just, can he be physical enough and strong enough to not be pushed off his stem? And can he get off press? But the body control and the coordination is absolutely rare. So if you're looking for a guy that, we need a presence on the boundary, he's that guy. And that's why I'm like, if you pair him with Brian Thomas Jr. in Jacksonville, that's just a mess for defenses to have to handle. And this class lacks guys like Tet McMillan. We have a lot of smaller guys in, Luther Burden, Matthew Golden. Emeka Egbuka is not little, but he's lean and he's not a big guy. So it's like, if you're looking for the guy with the size, there's really only one at the top that you would swing for.
All right. I got to ask one more wide receiver question before I get back to the Raiders. And this is coming from a guy that loves Golden. I mean, on him from
middle of the season, at least.
Yeah, just tough catches, good hands guy. They never used him vertically, though, even though they would always take their shots. And maybe I get it. It's not your strength. He was so inaccurate, past 20 yards. But should I be concerned, as much as I like Golden, that for as fast as he ran, it doesn't seem like the tape says that's who his strengths are as a wide receiver? Is that more a Texas thing, or is that a flag thing?
It's so when I watched him, I was like, all right, he plays like he's like 4.4 flat. So he ran the 4.29, which I'm not buying still. People, there's been like conspiracies out there. People are slowing down the frames and they're like, all right, it's like 4.37, 4.38. Whatever it is, I think the game speed is what matters. And I think everyone thought he was around 4.4 flat. When you watch the tape, he was their Z, where it's like, he's the guy that you're asking not to just run vertical all game, because then he's useless. Just more so, he's the guy that's getting the tough catches. He's running over the middle. He's making catches in traffic. He's the flanker. Like, this is the guy that we're going to ask to really do the meat of the work on the offense. So I don't think it's a red flag. I think there's more vertical there's a more vertical presence that he's waiting to unlock, and it's just not going to be with Quinn Ewers. Simply put, I think he probably compares a lot to like Stephon Diggs coming out, where is the speed elite? No, but he can get vertical if you get him good looks, and he's also going to make the tough catches and create after the catch. So I don't think it's a huge red flag. That offense at Texas was a mess. Watching Ewers be late on everything, watching Isaiah Bond have to wait for every catch and make easy catches turn into contested catches was pretty tough on those receivers. So I'm excited to see Matthew Golden get to the NFL and probably work in a more timing, rhythm-based offense where the ball is going to be there when he's open. The ball is going to be there when he's in and out of his breaks versus he's waiting on the ball. It's late, it's early, it's off target, it's whatever. That was the toughest part about watching his tape, honestly.
So, Justin, this is a show based in the state of Nebraska, so I do have an obligatory Huskers question here. Out of some of the guys that Nebraska's got coming into the draft, obviously no first-rounders or anything like that, but you've got Ty Robinson, who has had an interesting career, came on late as an older guy really strongly. Seems like there's maybe some momentum for him to be either, maybe an early day 3 guy, maybe sneak into day 2. And then you've got a couple interesting pass catchers in a Thomas Fidone, who tested really well, and then an Isaiah Nair, who tested really well, but maybe left a little bit to be desired on tape. How do you feel about some of the guys coming out of Nebraska?
To be honest with you, the only one I did study this year was Ty Robinson.
Yeah.
And I actually think he has a little more in his game. I think there's a little more to Ty Robinson than I think the media realizes.
I agree.
I'm like the guy with okay length, not great length, but enough where you're like, all right, that's great. 10-inch hands, 6'5", 290 at the combine. Like
he's got fresh legs too. He's got fresh legs.
Yeah, there's some movement skill there. I'm like, to me, he was in college forever. It felt like, but like this is the dude who's going to go be part of a rotation on the defensive line, and I think we're going to hear his name called for a decade. I think Ty Robinson was one of my sleepers too. I'm glad you brought him up because, he's probably going to go day 3. Might even be late day 3, but he'll go and then he's going to be on the team, and that another Husker in the NFL. So that's pretty cool.
All right, I got to ask because I got to get back to this about the shakiness of the franchises at the top. And full disclosure, this stems from my level of frustration. At a national show that I listened to, I was listening to Kenny and Carlin on the way, and Michelle on the way in, and they literally were posing the question because of Aaron Rodgers, like, can one guy even make the Steelers franchise look unstable? And the question was, who's more of a stable franchise right now? If I asked the question, the Steelers or the Jets? And as a Steelers fan, I was losing my mind. Like, I literally got out of my vehicle yelling, like, this is the most asinine thing I've ever heard. And I love the show. But I say that to say, because I felt like this was one of the better offseason hires and acquisitions in Pete Carroll to legitimize what the Raiders are doing. And our producer is a huge Raiders fan. And I think the NFL is better with the Raiders, and I get the division. Is he good enough, in your opinion, at this stage as a young 72-year-old to legitimize the Raiders who, Justin, I think you know this, they have a pretty legit roster and a chance to make another impact pick. Like, can you see this franchise competing in that tough AFC West?
Yeah, I think the cool thing about Pete Carroll is his age is not really like you said, he's the youngest 72-year-old alive, and he speaks so well to young players, and the culture he brings where he wants to make guys enjoy football, and I think he does that. And then they go out and hire Chip Kelly at OC now. He's going to be calling plays. That's a unique hire because I think Chip's learned his lesson from his first stint in the NFL. And even watching Ohio State last year, he added a lot to what he does.
Yeah.
And I think with
crafty little run game between zone and gap, like that was pretty legit.
Right. They'll pop a lot of different stuff on you, kind of like Sean Payton, where it's like we have a lot. As a defense, you're going to have a lot to worry about and a lot to game plan for. And we can throw it on you anytime, any game, depending who you are, So I think this team with this coaching staff and the youthful roster they're building, I don't think they're going to be good, but I do think you might see, I guess, kind of like the Rams last year, where it's like this roster shouldn't be so hard to play against. Or even Carolina at the end of the year, where you'd look on paper and say, like, this roster isn't something that we felt like would give us trouble, but here we are squeaking out a 20-18 win or something against them. And these guys like playing with each other. They like playing for their coaches. I'm very eager to see what Vegas does in the draft, because I think they're in a weird spot where it's like they probably should trade back for more picks. I don't know if there's like a nice, easy, sexy pick for them to take at 6, but I just want them to get impact players and, get more starters, get more guys that make plays, get young, get athletic. Don't swing for safe, swing for big, swing for impact, because this team could be coming up. And Pete Carroll, I don't know how much longer he really has to coach, but it doesn't feel like he's aging. So, I mean, he could be here for another decade, I guess. I don't know. I want this to work for him, because I think this is an awesome fresh start at the best place possible for him.
That's Justen Gammel, NFL draft analyst.
Fantastic.
Justin, awesome stuff. We appreciate the time. And hopefully you can make it the next 58 hours, 22 minutes, and 35 seconds until the draft.
I enjoy our annual meeting, guys.
Thanks,
Nice to
buddy.
hear from you.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys.
That's Justen Gammel. He's an NFL draft analyst.
Are you in or out on Tet?
I think I'm in.
I'm lukewarm.
I think I'm in. I'm not at 5. I'm not in at 5. But if you're going to take him, I made this argument a long time ago that if you're taking Travis as a wide receiver, I think I'd rather have Tet. And if you're taking Travis as a corner, I think I'd rather have Will.
I didn't even get to Will Johnson,
Which is another Michigan guy that is going to be in the first round.
That defense is pretty good. As DB, I'm Ravi, Lulla, more Hurrdat Sports Live. Coming up next.
What's your favorite part of Devaney?
Favorite part of Devaney? Probably my office, because if you look at the office, we're Danny's office now, but it's the only office in Lincoln. You can see the Capitol building, you see the court in Devaney. Who else has that office and that view?
That's amazing.
Yeah. And there's nothing better on game day, the smell of popcorn. That's my other favorite part. When you start smelling the popcorn about 4 o'clock for a 7 o'clock match.
You never get some during the game?
No. After you smell it, you don't want any, but because you get tired of the smell. But that's all you always have. We always say that. Smell the popcorn. It's got to be a game day. And I think this is one of the cool parts of Devaney is this little alleyway right here. Is first of all, our players walk by this every day. We wanted to put this here so they would see this every day. And every day they're going out there to work, hopefully they're inspired to want to get their next picture up.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Mizuno and Oklahoma State softball story is a story of growth and success. After getting to visit the team this fall and watching practice and talking with Coach G, I am confident in this team this year.
The best you is really dang good. I mean, it's really good. Okay? So just be that. No more, no less.
Lightning in my fingers, and I'm nice on my feet. Heavyweight big swinger, got you saying double while they're counting to 3.
Mizuno and Oklahoma State softball are built for big moments.
Brace yourself.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, reminding you to go check out centrusfcu.org. It's that time of year. A lot of times people, DB's been looking for a car for who knows how long. He'll figure it out eventually.
Every day I am.
Every day he's hustling. Every day he just needs to go to centrusfcu.org. They've got great experts in auto financing to help you out. Or maybe you've got a car, you're looking at maybe recreational vehicle, motorcycle, something to maybe zip around in during the summer. They've got you covered there as well at centrusfcu.org, federally insured by NCUA. Really good stuff there from Justen.
Yeah.
Really appreciate his time. Gave us like 40 minutes.
It went fast.
It did. No, I was saying
stunned.
I was appreciative of his time.
Yeah, I was stunned.
Like that was a nice long time that he gave us there. I do have a question for you though, DB.
Better not be another hard one.
I don't think it is. You watch a decent amount of TV, right?
Yes. Unfortunately.
Decent amount of television.
Yeah. Very random hours. Very productive days, very unproductive late nights.
So, sometimes on various television services, whether it's over the air or streaming or whatever you're watching, they have these things called advertisements, right?
Sure. Advertisements.
Yeah, advertisements. Some people call them commercials, but whatever. There's breaks in the show where
What?
there's breaks in the show where, people pay to put their products or services on display, right?
Correct.
When you're watching said television shows and these breaks, is there ever something that gets advertised that you're like, oh, that's not for me?
Yes. Yes.
So not every commercial that gets played during the shows that you like are aimed at you. Is that correct?
Correct.
Because it seems like that's something that some people have a hard time understanding.
Like what's for them and what isn't?
Yeah, because let's say for instance, if you're a
like political season, there's probably going to be a lot of stuff during political season
Sure.
that you're
and
not.
Shane, you're like, that's not for me.
Even less polarizing than that. They say, let's say that there's a Toyota commercial, and I'm like, nah, I'm really more of a Jeep guy. That's fine. It's okay. I want a car, yes. I'm okay on Toyotas. I'll take a Jeep instead.
No,
So
that happens.
That happens a lot,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Almost every commercial break
Correct.
in almost every piece of media you've ever consumed ever, right?
Oh boy, where are you going with this?
Well, so it seems like there's a.
Oh Lord, I feel like I've been set up.
It seems like I'm going to watch you into that one. It seems like there's some confusion on the stream, and I'm trying to help out here because, we've tried to answer a couple times in comments, but people seem to wonder why there's an Oklahoma State softball commercial in our breaks.
Lord, you did walk me into this.
If you're a sports media company that's good at what you do, which we are,
Right.
not us specifically, but other people that work here
Yeah.
are very talented. And sometimes people want you to make things for them because we're good at what they do. And they're like, hey, we would like you to make some of that cool stuff for us. Sometimes there's even a local connection. I don't know if you've ever heard of a softball pitcher named Ruby.
Yeah.
She's from here. I don't know if you know that. She played
Malin?
Ruby Malin.
Yeah.
A really good softball player.
She's fantastic.
Played at Scott.
Top 10 in the country in strikeouts.
Is from Omaha.
As is Jordy Ball, another famous
Also
Omahan.
true. But so she's down at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
And sometimes, when there's a connection to a place and you're really good at what you do, people want you to make things for them. And not everything that is made is for you necessarily. That's okay.
You're something else.
But
Angry Ravi is the best Ravi.
I'm just trying to
I love Angry Robert.
walk people through kind of the thought process.
Why don't you just say Mizuno pays quite a bit of money for us to produce content?
They do. That's my point. And we're very talented at what we do here. A lot of people are vying for services. We have a great partnership with Mizuno and Oklahoma State. We also have a connection to Oklahoma State with Ruby Malin.
Yeah.
This is not as much of a stretch as people think. And I don't know if you know this, Oklahoma State softball is a pretty big brand. The last 5 College World Series that have been held, Oklahoma State was a participant. This is a large national
Did you
scale.
really need to draw me? I feel a little warm.
Yeah.
Did you really need to draw me in?
I felt like I did because I feel like I've explained this several times.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if people know how business relationships work, but when somebody is paying you for something, they have some say over what gets made. That's how these things tend to work. So if Mizuno comes to us and say, hey, we've got Nebraska and we've got Oklahoma State. We love Nebraska. We love Jordy Ball. We've been with Oklahoma State for a really long time as well.
So we better take
Oklahoma State's been to the last 5 College World Series. We think they have a chance to go again this year. Let's focus on Oklahoma State this year. We think we're going to have a long and prosperous partnership. Maybe we focus on Nebraska next year. But Jordy Ball's coming off an injury. Maybe we don't know how it's going to go this year. Let's give it a year and see how it goes. You want to put your money in a place where you feel like it's safe. So I just, I don't think it's that much of a stretch to understand how these things happen. But it seems like there was some confusion. I was trying to help out.
Can I give you a better example?
Don't let Kobe gas you up, because I was getting ready to say Nebraska softball is coming.
Nebraska softball is very good.
I meant in this similar vein as to what's
yes, I would imagine that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
Can I give you a better example than political? As a Raider fan, I get really sick and tired of seeing Chiefs commercials. I see Hy-Vee Chiefs commercials. I see Patrick Mahomes pimping everything under the sun.
What's he do, Scotty?
Scotty, Scottie Pippen is pipping everything.
Didn't he say Pippen?
Yeah.
Under the sun, and I get sick and tired of it. There's no love for the Raiders.
Junior or senior? Scottie Pippen.
All of them.
I think both.
I'm
you guys
tired of it.
I think both of you guys.
I'm just trying to help people understand.
I think he has some issues.
I was trying to help people
I
understand.
think you can talk to some people about that.
And I understand that a lot of our
Patrick Mahomes need to be in every single cell phone commercial? Probably not.
I think he does, actually. I don't know how anyone would buy a cell phone without Patrick Mahomes.
Are you going to the store thinking about buying meat and thinking about Patrick Mahomes? I mean, with Hy-Vee.
Don't read Avery's text either.
I'm not gonna.
Isn't she stealthy? She'll low key say something, and you're like,
yeah.
Oh, that doesn't fit.
Yeah,
but it kind of does.
Yeah,
it's burnt. No, don't do that.
That's all. I just wanted to help explain.
That's a Ron Burgundy moment.
Just wanted to help explain. I'm Ron Burgundy. Just want to help explain. At some point in the future, we would love to. We'd love to do something similar with Nebraska. It'd be terrific.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's all.
I have a question.
What's that?
Is this recency bias, or is this seem like a draft? And I know you're mad about the countdown, right? It's a little.
I'm not mad. I just think it's silly.
And it seems like it's been going on because, unfortunately, we're in front of the television a ton.
Yeah, you have to be.
Right.
Yeah, that's part of the job.
And we see the similar headlines almost every day, almost for 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure you're ready for this thing to come to a nice screeching halt. But do you remember a draft with so much potential boom bust volatility at the top? Does that mean it's not a very good high-end draft? It's a deep draft, not star-studded, just varying a bit. Like, this draft is all over the place. And you just heard Justen talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I know nothing more than I knew 3 weeks ago or 4 months ago. Some guys still have second round grades on guys in the first round. Like the range is incredible.
I heard a NFL draft analyst, I believe, or he's not a draft analyst, he's a quarterback coach. Quincy Avery, I believe his name is.
Yeah.
He was on a podcast that I was listening to.
You just wanted to bring up Avery again, didn't you?
And he said that's a different Avery.
Oh.
Avery Howard.
Much different spelling, too.
Very talented.
Avery. E.
Yes. And, first name, last name. It's a little different. That's okay.
Specific.
Both good at what they do, though, in different ways. But Quincy Avery is on, I think it was with Ryan Rousseau, and he was talking about how outside of Cam Ward, the highest grade in any other draft that he would, or in any other context that he would have on any of these quarterbacks was a day 3 grade. Like, he didn't think anybody besides Cam Ward deserved to be drafted before day 3. But he believed that we were talking about maybe 3 or 4 guys that would get drafted in the first 2 days. Maybe 5 if it depends on where you feel on Shuck and Milroe. And that's, I think, a really good, obviously we know this quarterback class is not great.
But let's just,
but I think it's a good microcosm for the draft in general.
Let's not, because you don't even have to stretch the quarterbacks. We know we can't arrive at something there.
Yeah.
How about something as simple as Mason Graham?
Sure.
Or as simple, allegedly, as Tyler Warren. We can't even agree on top 10 picks.
100%, yeah. I think it is
how are we to the point where we're talking about if Mason Graham at 5 to Jayville is a crapshoot?
So I think the way I would describe this draft is a robust middle class.
Oh.
So I think the top end is a little sketchy. I'm sure there will be guys, and my guess would be most of them aren't going to be drafted in the top 10 picks. I'm sure there's going to be guys that are really, really good players from this draft. I don't think there's any consensus.
We can't decide on wide receiver 1. We can't decide whether Will is the first corner
Will
off
Johnson?
the board or not.
Well, it depends on what you consider Travis. He won't be the first corner off the board if you're putting Travis at corner. But yeah, I
don't know. And maybe it is recency bias because it's current and in my face right now. It just seems like there's just a ton of volatility.
So let's try and think of the places where there's consensus. Okay.
There's the only consensus we have is at 1. And I would stretch it a little further that I think we know the first 3 picks. We just don't know the order.
So let me think about it this way. So not the consensus of who's getting drafted where, but the consensus of who's good. Right? Even Cam Ward, who's the consensus number 1 pick. There's red flags with Cam Ward. Right? Like, he's not a guy that you look at as a no-brainer. I think there's people that say, yeah, he's definitely the best of this class and probably the only guy with a true first-round grade, depending on who you ask. But he's not a Andrew Luck, surefire, even guys that don't work out, right? He's not a surefire, we feel great about this pick. Even with Cam Ward, you're talking about big question marks. Abdul Carter, consensus top edge in the draft, question marks, right? Travis Hunter, consensus number 2 pick in the draft, question marks. Now, I don't think there's questions about whether he's good at football or not.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's questions about, okay, what does his role look like if he's playing both ways in the NFL? How impactful can he be on either side of the ball if he's playing both sides of the ball? And then my question that I keep coming back to and cannot get an answer on is, even in the best case scenario, how many games does he help you win?
Wouldn't you go back and get the skill later in this draft?
Yes.
Outside of probably running back and tight end.
Even running back. I think running back's deep. Now, there's a gap, probably. I don't think it's
so. Where's the gap start with KJ?
I think the way draft analysts view it, it's Ashton, little bit of a gap. Then you've got Hampton, I think, is the next one in everybody else's minds. Little bit of a gap, and then there's a big group
with Henderson, Judkins.
Yes, kind of that
Caleb
second,
Johnson.
third round group of guys.
Yeah, it seems like the longer this thing goes on, that the less people like Caleb Johnson, which I don't really understand, but I do get.
I don't think they love how he tested. I think he was a little slower than
you keep saying that, but that ain't it. It can't be. Not for that size.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what else has changed.
I think he comes across as a one-dimensional scheme guy. Like he needs zone.
Okay. But there's plenty of people that do that, right? Like that's not, I don't know why that would be such a detriment.
Because so for instance, and I said this during one of the games, and unless you like O-line or you like football like that, you don't really know whether you're watching like G scheme or zone.
Sure.
But I did say during one of the Ohio State games, I was explaining the difference between Judkins and Travion Henderson and how I could appreciate that Ohio State was flexible in the run game because one guy is a gap guy, the other guy is a zone guy.
Mm-hmm.
And they use both effectively.
Yeah.
But you have to kind of
get in the weeds
a little bit, so that's not fun. But so some guys make that distinction within the same offense, so they understand the difference. The best example I could give you with running backs of why I like him, because he could play in any run scheme system, is Clinton Portis.
Yeah, and you love Clinton Portis.
Clinton Portis played at a high level in Denver, which famously was all zone with Shanahan and stretch. But then he goes to Washington and plays in this counter gap pin pull scheme and was still fantastic. I'm like, big Portis guy. Not everybody's like that, but even at running back, which we say is deep, the range is all over the place.
Running back might be the best position in the draft.
Tight end will give you a run.
In terms of top end talent and depth?
I do also think some of these D tackles may not be high end, but I think there are a lot of good ones.
I agree with that. But I think if you're talking about top end talent and depth, running back might be your spot.
Maybe safety too.
We have a local guy there too as well.
Yeah.
Not playing for Nebraska, but we'll see where Watts goes. I'm excited to see how that plays out as well. Coming up next, we're going to talk to Mike Schaefer, Husker 24/7 here on Hurrdat Sports Live.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Okay, here with Austin Kaiser. Austin, pretty big win, EMC semifinal over Elkhorn North, which has been a little bit of a rivalry for you guys. What was your thought process coming into this game?
The first game we won 2-0, so we knew it was going to be a battle, so we just stuck to the game plan and put our chances in early.
Yeah, well, you put your chances in early for sure with a hat trick. So what were you seeing out there? I guess what was open for you?
They started man marking me at the start of the game, so I tried to get in behind and it worked. And then Rowan found me 3 times, I think. So
it was all 3 for him. Yes. Now moving on, I guess, to the final against Hastings. It actually had you haven't seen it yet, but a PK with 50 seconds left to win. What do you know about Hastings, and what are you looking forward to in that one?
Yeah, we played them last year. They're really good. So they're undefeated, and we're excited to go over there and play them.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live, covering Nebraska football and recruiting for 24/7 Sports. Here is Mike J. Schaefer.
Yeah, that's a grown-ass man right there.
Mike Schaefer.
I don't know. There could be bacon involved.
Mike Schaefer.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank Brian Edwards for me.
Here is Mike Schaefer.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. We are joined now by Mike Schaefer from Husker 24/7. What's up, Schaefer?
Not a ton. How we doing today?
Oh, we're out here. We're out here, right? Nothing, DB? You good?
I'm good. I am fantastic.
It's a little chaotic out here, Schaefer. We've got there appears to be a situation brewing at the theater down the street from where we're at. There's a lot of heavy law enforcement presence, so we're not really sure what's going on.
At the Alamo?
Yeah. There's like they came in pretty hot. There were sirens. There's a bunch of them. I don't know what's going on.
I mean, came in hot shape. There's got to be probably 7-8 squad cars over there.
Are Santa Ana and the forces encroaching upon the Alamo here? Is it the last stand for our heroes?
That's
different Alamo, I think.
That's kind of what it was like.
No, they were coming in hot though.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned. Mike J, were you more excited to be, within 57 hours of the NFL draft, or more excited to see the format tweeted out live for Saturday's events in Lincoln? Yes.
More excited to see what the Vikings do with the 24th pick. Yeah.
What's a team that's so close to winning do at 24? Because
they turn the organization over
at 21.
They turned the organization over to a guy who threw 9 times against Penn State in 2023. That's what they do when they're that close to winning. No, I mean they're in an envious spot where you're just trying to get the most value you can. I'm assuming they'll trade down. They only have 4 draft picks, so I'm assuming they want to acquire more draft picks. But I kind of hope they just hang in there at 24, take the best player available. If it's a Walter Nolan, if it's a cornerback, whatever it is, I'm good with that. Like, I don't think they have to go acquire more picks. And quite frankly, Kwesi has wasted most of his draft picks over the last couple years anyways. So they haven't really been built through the draft, so they shouldn't really be overly concerned on that end of it, I think.
Schaefer, as you kind of get ready, I know that doesn't quite raise to the standards of Vikings draft day, but as you get ready for the Saturday festivities in Lincoln, I mean, how are you approaching this as opposed to a more traditional spring game? Obviously, I wouldn't think you're expecting to garner much in terms of information, but just as a guy that covers the team, I'm curious how you're approaching it.
I mean, I'm not approaching it any differently than I would a practice, which is we'll see what we're allowed to watch and what happens when we're allowed to watch it and who we're allowed to talk to afterwards and what they choose to say. I mean, that's a really glib sort of dumb answer, but there's really not a whole lot more that I can offer. We really haven't experienced anything quite like this. I don't know what Saturday is going to be. I don't have a lot of anticipation that I'm going to walk away feeling strongly about any particular aspect about Nebraska football than I did coming into it, because I just don't think I'm going to take much from Saturday, which is fine. Like, it's not about me. It's not about the media coverage of it. It's about whether they're happy with the 15 practices that they put forward for this spring. I mean, that's ultimately, do they get to where they wanted to be at the end of the spring? Do do they have answers for personnel? Do they feel good about the guys that they've hired and where things are headed? Those are the big things. And some of that can be answered and some of it can't. And so I don't think anything that happens on Saturday should be large on anyone's radar for Nebraska football moving forward. They're not going to win a game in the fall this year because of anything that occurs during the Husker games on Saturday. And I don't think we should make too much of it one way or the other.
Schaefer, so is there any interest at all in kind of where guys may be or situationally, kind of why they're doing what they do? Like, for instance, if a guy like, Genatone wants to play some running back on Saturday to show some value there, or maybe an offensive guy goes to defense or vice versa or whatever. Like, is there kind of any interest there for you in terms of what the real cut line is, who's where, kind of what guys are willing to do to make sure they're in like that final, 8 to 10?
If there was like a condensed list that was passed out, which they're not going to do, but if like I knew who they were really sort of clued in on for these final few spots, yeah, that could be really dramatic. That in itself would be a fascinating thing to cover. We're not going to get that. We're not going to be given the sort of answers, if you will, about who's really fighting for what spots and what's going to make them stand out. So yeah, I mean, there's the intrigue of, okay, can this person make himself more valuable in different ways or whatever it is? But again, without knowing what was occurring in the previous 14 practices with these individuals, I don't want to just assume if a guy has a nice day on Saturday, April 26th, that he's guaranteed for the 105 or that he's destined for stardom at Nebraska or anything of that nature. So there's going to be intrigue about what this all looks like and if guys line up in different spots or if they're trying to maximize their value, whether it's at Nebraska or for a future suitor. There's certainly going to be intrigue in that regard. But what it actually means for the program, I think is going to be really hard to suss out.
So, Schaefer, I'm curious. I'm going to switch gears here on you a little bit. DB and I were talking sort of in passing earlier about returning Big Ten quarterbacks and where Nebraska sort of fell in that pecking order as we're, obviously Nico's not a returning quarterback to UCLA, but he's at least a somewhat known commodity, having played last year. As you kind of start to get a more complete picture of the Big Ten quarterback, I guess, landscape, where does Dylan fall in that for you?
It's tough because I admittedly kind of go into like almost Big Ten hibernation mode where I haven't thought a lot about some of these other teams and what they have coming back. I mean, I know that Drew Aller will be at Penn State. Obviously aware of Jaden Maivia.
SC.
At SC. I mean, there's different people that you're familiar with because Nebraska either played them or that they're out there. And then there's just some teams like I don't know what Purdue is doing. I don't know what Minnesota is doing. Mark Gronowski is over at Iowa.
You gotta like. Do you like Damon Williams at Washington? He may be one of the better kept secrets. I think. I think he's gonna be pretty good.
I don't have strong opinions yet on it. I mean, with so much player movement, and then when you get hyper focused the way that we do when you cover Nebraska, like I just honestly can't offer a great assessment of what's happening around the conference because I haven't really thought about it in that sense. I mean, I know that Nebraska is going to have some interesting guys on their schedule, but I haven't really begun to think about like where Dylan might fall on the list of Big Ten quarterbacks, in large part because I don't know yet what type of Dylan Raiola I think we're going to see for a sophomore year. I mean, what sort of jump? I mean, is this a guy that can go up 2 levels? Is this a guy going up 1 level? Is this a guy going up half a level? Is Nebraska going to find more success in the running game so it's less reliant on Dylan Raiola than it was at times last year? So some of it is he's still very much an undecided as to what he is. I think that the toolbox is full with what he can do, but we don't know what that picture is ultimately going to look like And I don't even know that the end of last year with Dana Holgorsen told us what it's going to look like, because you had games like Iowa where he was a little bit tentative in the pocket, or he wasn't making plays when he had some opportunities, and a great defense. You had games like Wisconsin where he took advantage of a porous secondary, and they were able to move the ball all over the field. You had USC where you had a little good, a little bad. You had Boston College where I think it was mostly good, but the conditions weren't great. He couldn't hit the ball down the field. I mean, so there's just so much unknown about Dylan Raiola that I think he could easily end up in the upper echelon of Big Ten quarterbacks, but he could also just sort of be middle of the pack. We just don't know what kind of growth, and we're expecting growth. And I would be surprised if he took a step back. But we just don't know what level. I mean, because it'd be too reductive or simplistic to say he's going to be a little bit better, or he's going to be a lot of bit better, because there's so much around him that's changing too.
Shay, is it important? So it's kind of in the nitty gritty, and I get it because we are hyper focused on Nebraska, but like, how important is or isn't it? Like, does he need to be better than Julian Sands or Keinholz or whomever starts at Ohio State? Or does he need to be better than Drew Altmaier
or Drew Aller or Luke Altmaier?
Yeah, I confused my first names. Does he need to be better than Altmaier at Illinois? Like, at some point, the teams that you're going against, I guess, head to head would probably matter more than its totality in the conference as a whole, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess the really stupid way that I'm going to answer this is that I think he just needs to be better than what he was last year. His competition is himself. I don't think it needs to be an outward thing. I don't think he has to worry about competing against other Big Ten quarterbacks. I think if he can be better than he was last year, if he can show a little bit more decisiveness when he wants to run the football out of the pocket, if he has a little bit more touch when he's able to throw downfield, he's able to read defenses faster at the line of scrimmage. If he could recognize things like early in the second half against UCLA when he should have saw Fedoni up the seam and he didn't, and he instead tries to force his ball, and it's a game-changing interception return for a touchdown. I mean, I don't care about Dylan versus the rest of the conference. I care about Dylan versus Dylan. If he's better than the version last year, Nebraska's going to be better. I don't think that's like a really tough or ridiculous hot take by any means. I think if he's improving upon what he was, if Dylan Raiola as a sophomore in September is better than the guy as a freshman in September that we were all pretty impressed by, I think that's arrow up for Nebraska as a program as a whole. I think that's arrow up for what that offense can be as a whole. And I think it shows you that, you know, Dylan Raiola isn't just this guy who has a bunch of tools and was capable of playing as a freshman. It shows you that he's going to continue to grow and get better, that he didn't come in and be what he is for multiple years, that there's progress there. And so I think the comparison, the only player or person that he needs to be worried about, and I'm sure this is what the case is himself.
Yeah. Schaefer, as you look at the situation with Dana and Dylan, and maybe it doesn't, maybe the semantics of it don't matter, but I'm curious, if we see a version of Dylan that's better than last year, how much of it do you think will be a credit to Dylan getting better, and how much of it do you think will be a credit to Dana and the way his offense tends to make things easy on quarterbacks?
I think that has to work hand in hand. I mean, I think like we should be able to see moments in 2025 where Dylan's processing is better than it was last year. And it was good. I mean, I don't think he gets enough credit for what he did last year as it is, because Nebraska goes 7-6. It's up and down. The offense is up and down. And yet that was an 18-year-old, 19-year-old playing his first college football, having to do all of that on the fly, facing different defenses, and the best conference in the country. I mean, it was the best conference in the country last year, and he's doing this for the first time. And so I think he doesn't get enough credit for what he did last year. So if we see improvement upon that, I definitely think it's going to be a continuation of his own growth as a player, but also just an offensive coordinator who might be better tapped into utilizing his skill set, or an offensive coordinator that is really good at counterpunching. I think one of the things that Dana Holgorsen is going to be able to do for Nebraska, and has stood out to me when he talks, is that he doesn't care about the style of what it looks like. If a team's going to load the box, then he's going to throw to the edges of the field and beat them that way. If a team is spread out completely, then he's going to have 4 wide receivers and run Emmett Johnson up the middle. And so I think the fact that you have a counter puncher as an offensive coordinator that can look at what the defense is doing and come up with ideas for how the offense can continue to move the ball is going to help Dylan Raiola grow in his game. It's going to help Nebraska overall. And so it has to be in conjunction. I don't think it could ever have just been Dana's here, he gets the 2024 version of Dylan, and he's that much better now. He's going to get 2025 Dylan, and 2025 Dylan gets to work off of what he learned as a player. And now he gets to have Dana Holgorsen as a play caller. And that's kind of, if you're high on Nebraska and what they can be in 2025, it's that relationship and those two working off of each other that gives Nebraska a pretty high floor offensively, I think.
So, Schaefer, how much of what you you envision happening or you're trying to project that's going to happen? I want to go over to the other side of the ball because it's strange. Holgorsen gets a lot of it's not even benefit of the doubt. His track record lends itself to us saying, I already like the quarterback's talents. He's with a proven offensive coordinator. Okay, I kind of like I trust the direction the offense is moving. We're obviously a little more reluctant defensively, but is it because of the people coaching the defense, or is it because they have so many movable pieces? Is it both? Like, why does offense get in your opinion, more of the benefit of the successful doubt than defensively?
Who would be the offensive equivalent or the defensive equivalent of Dylan Raiola and Emmett Johnson right now? Because, you have two guys that are flash individuals on offense. I don't think we can say that.
Okay, this might be blasphemy. But I don't think the production from Dylan warrants any more of the benefit of the doubt than, let's say, Van Poppel or Sierra Wright, or even in his limited role, even Javen Wright. And in my opinion, is it because? And listen, I think Dylan is going to be really, really good. I am a little surprised that statistically, I get the 71%, but the 13-11, the holding the ball a little, like he way gets the benefit of the doubt, and I do think he's going to be good. I'm just surprised that some of the defensive flashes that we've seen, like those guys don't, because I think they're comparable.
Can I give you an obvious pushback, though?
Yeah, for sure.
Just look at the total number of plays Dylan has
over 500
to do
snaps,
versus any of those defense. It's not even close.
Yeah, that's legit.
So small sample size. Sierra Wright was incredible last year, but does that mean that he is going to be incredible over a?
But you also
run?
have. So let me give you one right back. So with over 500 snaps as a freshman, 13-11 touchdowns to interceptions is ample enough time to not have it be a one-off, if you want to look at it that way. Fair?
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And I think some of it is the construct of, as a quarterback, you're also reliant on what you have around you. You're reliant on the play call and the situations and everything else. 13-11, I don't look at that as, oh man, Dylan should have had 8 more touchdowns because of this, and this. I more view it as emblematic of that was an offense that really struggled to finish drives and to finish with touchdowns instead of field goals attempts. And Dylan's a part of that. But so is the scheme. So are the receivers being able to get open or make plays when they are open, or finish when it's 50-50 ball and come away with the touchdown catch instead of the interception. So it's reliant on that too. I guess when I look at it defensively, and it's also still part of a system, you need the other 10 guys around you to be a good defensive player. I don't know that there's any player yet that I think has the upside that we think Dylan Raiola has defensively. And maybe there are, and I'm as high on Riley Van Poppel as anybody, but we still need to see it for a longer duration of time. And we need to see it kind of break through more than it has. Same with Javen Wright. I think Javen Wright is a comparable to like an Emmett Johnson, where
that's
emergence,
what I would give.
In an emergence sort of thing, like those guys came on really strong in a limited opportunity. Let's see what it looks like when they get more. What does Emmett Johnson look like with a starter's workload for 12 games? What does a healthy Wright look like and on defense for 12 games? I mean, that could be a really fascinating player, but we really haven't been able to see that. He did it mostly in 2023, and we saw he was a bit of an eraser. I mean, that guy made plays, but does that mean, can we get that? And there's guys on defense I'm really excited. Like Willis McGahee is someone that I am very, very excited about. Like I think there is a ton of upside.
I mean, isn't Shavers Emmett?
Yeah, and that's another one too. Like there's all of these guys, but there's not, like, you don't have someone that has a wealth of experience defensively aside from Deshaun Singleton and Malcolm Hartzog, I guess, have played multiple seasons. But even then, Singleton's missed time or he wasn't a starter initially. Hartzog has kind of bounced around roles. Like I feel like there's a lot of question marks and guys that haven't had the full run of opportunity on defense in a way that makes me as comfortable yet as where I think the offense is, which is weird because it's not like the offense lit the world on fire.
Schaefer, is there, kind of talking about this benefit of the doubt and who should and shouldn't get it, is there somebody that we haven't really talked about on either side of the ball that you're giving the benefit of the doubt to based on what you've seen that you just don't think is either getting that type of run normally?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, we do a pretty good job of talking about literally everyone on the roster. So I always find it kind of fun when you have to come up with deep sleepers or under the radar people, because it's kind of hard to get under the radar in this environment.
I'm looking for deep cuts, Schaefer.
Like I'm intrigued by, and this is more just a me thing. It doesn't mean that I've seen it yet, but like a Quinn Clark or a Keelan Smith, like they're further down the pecking order on the wide receiver room. But it doesn't mean that I'm not interested in what they're able to do. Well, Mekhi Nelson, I'm very interested in, but we've talked about him. Like even a Kenneth Williams, we've talked about him in the sense that he's looked pretty good in the limited time that media's been over there, and he's smooth catching the ball, and they obviously like him. I think he's part of the running back depth there. Defensively, you can kind of get deeper into the secondary. Like I want to know more about a Justen Rhett, because I think he's someone that was brought in December that you kind of just forgot about him. And now we've had a limited amount of time. We've been over there in the spring, and I've seen him running around, but I can't say that I know what he is as a safety. Is he a center field type guy? Is he coming up in the box and making plays? I mean, so there's people that I'm very curious about that I think are going to have roles, but I don't know that there's anyone that has been like under discussed relative to what their impact might be in 2025. I think we do a pretty good job of taking the fine comb through everything with Nebraska's roster.
So let me get to Nebraska's portals additions or subtractions or whatever. I don't know how many guys are going to be go either way, but clearly, the one that's on the radar for everybody locally is Marty Brown. You're pretty plugged into some of the aforementioned schools he's connected with. What are you hearing as it with regards to how you think this week plays out? Will he or won't he be at practice? Because I'd like to say I would know better, but I don't. What are we thinking there, Schaefer, as you try to connect the dots?
Yeah, I mean, today he's expected to be in Miami, and like to kind of put it in a pretty simple way, Miami wants to finish this recruitment when he's on campus today. Yeah. Like Miami is motivated for Brown to leave and just know that he's going to be a future Hurricane. Like they want him. They want him that much. Whether he's going to do that or not, because he has other opportunities, whether it's, potentially seeing what Nebraska is interested in with him, or Cal, who's shown a lot of interest and doesn't have a running back room to speak of right now. I mean, he has legitimate opportunities. I mean, there's Kansas State out there where he has connections. So for me personally, I don't know how he fits in the Nebraska equation. Unless he just desires to be a Husker more than he desires the opportunity that he's going to find outside of Lincoln, I don't see this as a fit where it's going to work for both sides with what he ultimately can get. And I think Miami is going to be willing to offer a good amount of NIL. I think they view him as a future starting running back in that program behind a couple guys they have that are older right now, but they want him as part of their three-headed rotation that they're going to run down there. And like I said, Cal is looking for its starting running back out of the transfer portal. So, Nebraska inviting him to a practice doesn't signify the same thing as these other programs kind of going after him. And so that's not to say that Nebraska needs to be doing more. It knows what its room is better than everybody on the outside. So if they're comfortable, if they have it running back and they don't feel like Brown is a significant upgrade, then they're responding and such. And he's going to respond and make the decision that's best for him. Even when he went in and the initial buzz sort of happened, it felt like it was going to be a tough fit for me because I could see where Nebraska would look at a Quentin Ives and think, what's the difference between him and Brown? I mean, Ives didn't have the opportunity to contribute at North Dakota State. Like that's the big difference here. But they really believe in that running back room. Good or bad, they have a lot of confidence in that running back room. And they have for several years. And we just haven't seen it manifest in the way that I think they believe in over there. And that's sort of why I don't think Brown will end up with Nebraska either.
So you don't think the interest in Marty Brown is in any way an indictment of how they feel about the current room?
No. I just get the sense that they would be happy to take him if it works out, but I don't think when Nebraska has wanted someone in the transfer portal, you have seen it in a certain way. And I don't think we're seeing that with him. And so I just have a tough time imagining that this shifts in such a way where Nebraska is going to be his best option, because I think he's got a lot of good options. And I think that he knows that. And I think his representation knows that.
So in your mind, if it doesn't end up being Brown, you don't think Nebraska is going to go back to the portal and search for another running back?
No, I think it's either Brown or they're not taking another running back.
Okay.
Like I think they genuinely like their room. Now, could I be wrong? Sure, but we have pretty good coverage of things over at 24/7. You've seen running backs committing to other schools. You haven't really seen Nebraska's name linked to anybody. I mean, even Shamar Brown, like if he wasn't from Omaha, Nebraska wouldn't be linked to him. Like that's just a reality of it. So I just don't see them looking into the portal for a running. They didn't do it in December and January. I don't know why they would do it now. I genuinely think they believe in what they have in that running back room.
Schaefer, let me get you out on this. Is there from a special teams in the third phase of the game, obviously, anything you're interested in, considering it was such a critical part of Nebraska's outcomes a year ago, that you think you can glean?
I don't know if I'm going to be able to take anything away right now. The optimist in me, the real tiny little bit of me that believes in positivity, doesn't think it can get any worse than Nebraska's special teams last year. So I think having a new voice and a new operation system and new teaching and new ideas, I think that's all good for Nebraska. And so I am going to provide a long runway in order to be able to assess how things have gone for Mike Eckler. It worked immediately for him when he went to Tennessee, and I don't want to just assume that's going to be the case at Nebraska too. But I am genuinely excited about what he could do and the turnaround we could see, because it was really bad last year. I just don't think there's any way that you can say it other than it was really, really bad. I mean, it was everything from not being able to cover punts, and your gunners were so far removed from where they needed to be because they couldn't get off of blocks, to you couldn't set up simple returns, to you couldn't block on not even full on punt block from other teams. Like, I mean, just there was so much that went wrong last year that even just getting to baseline competency is going to feel like a seismic jump for Nebraska in the third phase.
Dave, probably unanswerable question before we get you out of here.
Hey, but let's ask it anyway.
That's what I do. Schaefer, if Nebraska was at baseline competency in special teams last year, what's the record?
I mean, I think they win the Illinois game.
You probably win Iowa.
You win Iowa. So, I mean, that would put them at, what, 9-4? I mean, they would have been 8-4.
Regular season.
We don't know who they play. I mean, they probably get an SEC team in the bowl game, and that's a little different than Boston College. But we'll say at least 8-4 in the regular season. I mean, it cost them games. And you could make an argument that games like UCLA and other ones, because you just couldn't rely on special teams to do things for you. I mean, it hurt them in that. It hurt them against USC. And not just because of kicks or anything like that, just field position. I mean, it hurt them in all of the games they played in. Who's to say they don't beat Ohio State if they didn't have a better day on special teams, or someone makes a play on special teams? I mean, so it's not just the ones that stand out because you missed a kick here or there. It's the entirety of the season. You went into every game being the worst special teams unit in the game. And that's really bad when you're playing in a conference like the Big Ten, where the special teams is a huge part of the whole thing.
That's Mike Schaefer, Husker 24/7. Schaefer, great stuff as always. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Take care. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I think it's two directly without having to extrapolate anything at all. Two wins.
Yeah, like that.
Without having to stretch anything.
Yeah.
Like no Bikram yoga there.
And I would take Iowa over Illinois.
Yeah.
But
it's both of those for sure.
100%.
That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla, more Hurrdat Sports Live. Coming up next.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Okay, here with Austin Kaiser. Austin, pretty big win, EMC semifinal over Elkhorn North, which has been a little bit of a rivalry for you guys. What was your thought process coming into this game?
Yeah, the first game we won 2-0, so we knew it was going to be a battle, so we just stuck to the game plan and put our chances in early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you put your chances in early for sure with a hat trick. So what were you seeing out there? I guess what was open for you?
Yeah, they started man marking me at the start of the game, so I tried to get in behind and it worked. And then Rowan found me 3 times, I think. So
yeah. It was all three for him, yes. Now moving on, I guess, to the final against Hastings. It actually had you haven't seen it yet, but a PK with 50 seconds left to win. What do you know about Hastings, and what are you looking forward to in that one?
Yeah, we played them last year. They're really good, so they're undefeated, and we're excited to go over there and play them.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Don't forget, Tuesdays, kids eat free. With the purchase of an adult entree, you can get a free kids entree as well. Bring the whole family in, get a little bit of free food, and enjoy the great atmosphere and the great setup here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Lots of playoff games going on.
Yeah.
Hockey, basketball, whatever you want to watch, we've got it covered here, Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. DB, I asked Schaefer a question there about the place of Dylan Raiola in the Big Ten quarterback picture.
Yeah, actually, I asked you.
Yeah,
earlier,
and then I asked you.
and I didn't want to put you on the hot seat. Are you going to turn around and put me on the hot seat?
I would like to put us both on nicely temperatured sitting apparatus and see where we can land here, because
we're going to have to process through it real time.
I think it's an interesting question. You got of the guys returning to their current schools. Here's the list.
So Nico is out.
We can get to Nico in a second, but let's start here. Let's start with guys going back to the place where they played last year.
Okay.
Drew Aller.
Yep.
Luke Altmaier. Aiden Childs.
Yep.
Athen Kalak-Manis.
Yep.
Jordan Maeva. And Dylan Raiola.
Yep.
That's it. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys. A third of the conference is returning a starter that played for them last year.
Although Damon Williams played, I think he got the last 2 starts for Washington.
And Jordan Maeva didn't play most of the year for USC.
I would put Williams and Washington in that.
Okay, Damon Williams as well.
Yeah.
He played about as much as Maeva is. That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. So 7 guys. Out of that group, we have to project a little bit, right? That's kind of what this exercise is with a lot of guys, not just Dylan. Out of that group, gut instinct, where does Dylan fall?
Third, probably.
After Aller?
After Aller.
After Altmaier?
Correct.
I think that's fair. I like him. I like what we've seen from him better than Childs, better than Kalak-Manis, better than Maeva, and better than Damon. I think that's fair.
Yeah. Because even in a win, I didn't like Maeva.
No. We've
better
talked
than
about
Dylan and Southern Cal.
We've talked about this with USC.
Now, that's not to say that he's not capable.
Sure.
But if you're just asking me what I know.
He threw so many interceptable balls that didn't get picked off.
But I do think, it's Menendez at Indiana.
Yeah. Fernando.
Who I think is a very, very good pickup.
Good fit for them.
A very good fit for Indiana. I probably like Damon Williams better than most.
It seems like you're higher on him now.
So, and then whatever happens with Keinholz and Sands at Ohio State.
Yeah.
You got to figure those guys will be better at the position, though.
You think better than Will Howard? Or better at the position in what sense?
That quarterback position that will be played at Ohio State, you have to slot in the top 5 just naturally.
Of the conference?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I would agree.
No matter who takes snaps. I hate doing that.
No, but
and you
right.
could give me pushback like
I don't know. I think you're right.
No, man, you don't. Like, we don't know how they're going to play. But
the only thing I would maybe
law of averages says they find a good quarterback.
Yeah, they'll figure it out. Even Kyle McCord, who they couldn't wait to get out of town, was a top 5 quarterback in the conference the year he played. Right? That's the low point, is Kyle McCord. And that's a dude that had a really good year at Syracuse, had a good year at Ohio State. Not to the level their expectations are at, but the low point is a top 5 quarterback in the league. So I think that's fair. The other The other ones that are kind of out there, I'm really interested, and these are outside of returning to the place they started. I'm really interested to see what Iowa's situation looks like with Gronowski. That I don't know what to make of that, because I think obviously he was good at South Dakota State.
And you just got an Iowa quarterback to enter the portal, so maybe he's
Seems
better.
like he's winning.
Yeah.
Right? And is kind of locking down that position. But I don't love the history of Iowa's offensive quarterbacks. Right?
So they would be the anti-assumption.
Yes, they're the bizarro
Ohio State.
Like, no matter who they bring in, I kind of go, I don't know how that's going to work.
What do you do with Wisconsin?
I have no idea. I don't think they've done a good job with. Now, I don't think they. I was never a Tyler Van Dyke guy, right? So I don't really know what to do with that. But I don't know that they put guys in great positions anyway. So I have really, and they've got a new offensive coordinator as well. I don't really know what to do with Wisconsin. I think they're a total outlier. That to me makes it challenging, like Schaefer said, challenging to a certain extent to slot some of these guys against some unknowns. But if you're going, okay, you got Nico at UCLA, I am really interested to see what that looks like. Because like you, I'm sort of rooting for their demise because they don't seem to value the things that I care about, and I don't want them to be rewarded for it.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason I tend to root against Dion. Doesn't seem like he values the things that I value, so I don't want him to do well.
Do you want to go through his portal list of additions that he needs?
As everybody, except a quarterback. He literally, I count, it was every position. It was every position except a quarterback.
Yeah.
He's like, I think I'm cool there.
Yeah.
They brought in Caden Salter, and then they've got Julian Lewis, right, as the true freshman. So he's like, I think I'm cool at quarterback, but after that, he named literally every position on the field.
Yeah.
So I don't feel great if I'm Colorado. Kudos on him for putting out the one ad in the newspaper, open for business. But yeah, I don't know if you're feeling good about that. So I don't know what to do with Nico at UCLA because I think he's capable. I don't know if he's as capable as some people think. I also think he was despite what his family was telling people, I actually think being in a Josh Heupel offense is a pretty advantageous position to be in. History would tell us that those quarterbacks perform well. Now, at least in college. You want to have a discussion about what they do in the NFL, whatever. But at least in college, those guys perform well. Are you going to be in a better situation at UCLA with a first-time offensive coordinator in Sinceri?
I mean, historically, okay. Yeah, you don't want to fast forward that it's kumbaya, we get s'mores, and that thing hits off and running. History says it's got a chance to be successful, though. So you have to buoy that, right? And understand full well that, man, listen, humans are the single greatest variable on the planet. So you don't want to assume anything. But I am also the same guy that just said, you got to assume whoever plays quarterback in Columbus, that position is going to be played pretty well.
Yeah. Do you like the talent around him better at UCLA versus Tennessee?
No.
Absolutely not.
I don't.
Right? So he hasn't really put himself in a position to take the next step necessarily.
Well, and I think the most difficult thing about what he's doing is he's playing in a league where he may not be afforded the same safety blanket that he was at Tennessee to just be able to run the football. I think he's going to find it very tough sledding. It is hard to run the football in the Big Ten Conference.
Yeah.
Teams are built to stop the run. And it's
not him personally, but the offense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
because Tennessee leaned on that.
That was his safety blanket the last half of the season. Hand the ball to number 6.
Because they ran the ball, 65% of the time, basically?
Yeah.
Like it was
And you can do now. We've seen teams do that. What I'm saying is, without the dynamic wideouts outside of a couple of schools, you don't have the balance. I mean, even Milroe,
to keep people honest a little bit,
as a poor passer, had ridiculous targets.
Sure. So you have to keep them honest a little bit.
Ole Miss, ridiculous targets.
100%.
Now, I was going to say Georgia. They dropped the ball a lot, but I mean, guys just have guys they can throw to.
Yeah,
I mean,
guys
Missouri
that you
had,
have to honor.
So it's a little different,
sure,
in the Big Ten in that regard. So I just think being able to line up and run, you have to be built that way. You have to be built up front like Minnesota. You have to be built up front like Iowa. I don't know if UCLA is there yet. So that would be the, hey, careful.
Yeah.
Now with
careful what you wish for.
You do need a little bit more balance in this league because I think the assistants, they're just so it's
really,
such
really
a
good.
well-coached conference.
Yeah.
Because if you concede the talent disparity, however fine or large you think it is, and the advantage goes to the SEC,
then you also have to concede.
Then you also have to
disparity.
concede that the coaching must be pretty damn good in the Big Ten.
Well, I mean, we've got numbers on this,
Because
right?
we look at head-to-head, like we've just seen it.
Adam McClintock has given us hard numbers on this.
Yeah.
He has sent us that talent-wise, through their metrics and everything they do at Matrix Analytical, that the SEC outpaces the Big Ten. They outpace everybody in the talent that they acquire. In overall success of the conferences, the Big Ten is slightly ahead of the SEC. The disparity is that the coaching disparity between the Big Ten and the SEC is even larger than the talent disparity between the SEC and the Big Ten. There's hard numbers to back that up. So you're right when you say the assistants and the coaching in this league are so good that you have to be a little bit better.
Yeah.
You have to be a little bit more balanced because nobody's going to make it easy on you. That's why having, I think, Dana Holgorsen for a whole offseason and a whole year is going to make a huge difference for Nebraska. Dana Holgorsen would be an upgrade at offensive coordinator for almost everybody in the country. Like there's a handful of schools that have a guy of equal or better offensive acumen than Dana Holgorsen, but it's not a lot. There's not very many of them.
Yeah.
That's a huge win for Nebraska.
I like
that. And so you've got this guy who has this coaching acumen, who can do a lot of different things despite what people assume his reputation is. He's a really, really smart guy, even if Nebraska's talent is equal. That's why I asked Schaefer the question about Dana versus Raiola in terms of if we see improvement this year.
Were you vibing with that though?
I think Dylan can be the exact same person he was last year.
I do not, but carry on.
I'm saying
my wayward son.
I'm eliminating variables here. So if he's the exact same person he was last year, but you get a whole year of Dana Holgorsen, it's going to look better than it did last year.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think Nebraska can reach their goals unless Dylan is also better, but the offense will look better just from having Dana here for the whole year, even if Dylan's the same. That's my point. I think.
I do not.
I think he will get wide receivers open in a way that helps him out a lot.
So if nothing else, you can't be 1.1 to 1. You can't be 1.2 to 1 in touchdowns and interceptions.
Right.
You just can't.
I understand that. My point is
you cannot.
The numbers will look different even if he's largely the same guy based on offensive scheme.
I don't know what that would look like, though.
What do you mean?
So if you're not better statistically, what do you mean being the same guy?
I mean, having significant growth as a player. Like we've talked a lot about, hey, he needs to, part of the reason we want him to be in better shape is so he can move around a little bit better. And, we want him to make, we want him to not hold the ball quite as long and do some of these things. I think he could be largely the same in terms of his growth as a personal quarterback.
And just do those things?
Yes. And he'll be better because the offensive system is a little bit easier for him and a little bit more efficient.
I don't know.
I think the stats will look better even if he is largely the same guy.
I don't want to belabor your point and just be a Richard head.
I mean, I get your pushback.
But it's legit chicken or egg.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Right? So I don't want to necessarily have that kind of ping pong. So I simply just say he has to play better. And I don't there's no other way around it. He has to play better.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at it from a standpoint of, again, if Nebraska for Nebraska to reach their goals, which is, for me, my goal for them is 9, somewhere in the 9 range. I think that's a legitimate, real goal for them. I think he probably needs to actually have gotten better. In order for his stats to look better, I think he can be largely the same guy in a better offense. It's so those are kind of two different things.
We are different.
Is a guy that is in order to be a guy that I trust implicitly when it's like, hey, it's 2 minutes before half, let's go get a score, we get the ball back, let's put this game away before they even touch the ball in the third quarter, then he needs to be a better, different kind of quarterback.
Now, I will say this. Along those lines, even though I'm like, I don't know, Ravi.
Sure.
I will say this. If you're better with the gimmies, they will be markedly better.
Yeah.
So in that vein, he doesn't need to be markedly
different.
Yes. If you just take the gimmies.
And within a Dana Holgorsen offense, I think you're going to have more opportunities to get gimmies.
Right? 3rd and 4, man, play catch.
Hey, just get
3rd and 6.
3rd and 4 in a Dana Holgorsen offense should be a gimme.
Yeah. No,
right?
I get it.
So if you have more opportunities for gimmies, you're going to hit more of them. That's kind of my point. And you may still be in a situation where it's like, don't know if I totally love it in a 4-minute trying to salt the game away. Like that's where there's personal growth as a quarterback or, hey, we are down for 90 seconds, 2 timeouts, go win the game. That's where I think you're being better as a quarterback.
And you will get help from your staff because the coaching in game has to get better too.
100%. Absolutely.
So as they get better situationally, I think inevitably, Dylan will get better.
Yeah. So it is a chicken egg thing in that sense for sure.
And as Dylan gets better,
then the coaching will get better.
Then the coaching becomes vastly easier. Like situationally, hey, listen, I know if I can ISO this deal, this critical play against Boston College, and I see, boom, I can isolate a running back on a linebacker, get him the ball. Because that's how offensive coordinators think.
Yeah, let me create this situation.
Let me create the most advantageous thing. You guys got to do the rest.
Absolutely.
So if you're operating under that deal, like how many times did we say on a 3rd down, this 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, and we say, oh, he had him.
Yeah, get rid of it.
Or just hang on to the ball or squeeze it. Like if you take when I say gimme, I don't mean you get handouts, but I'm telling you.
When you get the situation you were trying to scheme up, you have to
execute it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with that.
Like we make football about a lot of other things. The really, really good teams, boy, they don't miss.
Yeah.
They make you pay the price.
They will scheme you up and get you in a situation you don't want to be in, and then they take advantage of it.
They make you pay the price for not – I mean, you get a 4th and 1 on the plus side of the field, and you mishandle a snap.
That's a gimme. You have to convert
That's a gimme.
You have to convert that.
Yeah. So those are the kinds of things I'm talking about.
And my point is I think Dana Holgorsen is just about as good as anybody in the country at creating those situations for you, at creating those situations where you get the look you want. And that's, I think, where the difference is going to be. And I do think Dylan is better. So, I'm kind of arguing against something that I don't even necessarily think is real. But I do think Dylan is also better, right? I think he's a better version of himself. I think because of the way, like, nobody on earth has ever questioned his mental acumen for the game. Nobody. That's the one thing everybody is like, hey, he's got all the tools, and his devotion to the film room and the mental side of the game is unmatched, right? So if you start with those things and then you're like, hey, there's a couple things we need to shore up. We got him in better shape. We feel, he's got that first year of starts under his belt, 500 snaps or whatever it was that Schaefer said. Then you're in a position where you're almost just going to be better by default. If you work at it at all and you start there, you're going to be better almost by default. And then you add in an offensive situation that's maybe a little bit more advantageous and creates a little bit, a few more gimmies. I think you're in pretty good shape. And maybe that's why, to answer your question to Schaefer, maybe that's why you give him the benefit of the doubt. I do think Dana's a big part of why Dylan gets the benefit of the doubt.
I get it. But I also think there's this part of me that thinks we attribute Dylan's talent more than what we've seen.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's fair. A lot of people do that with 5 stars, though, to be fair. That's a very common practice with guys that are that highly touted.
Yeah.
You could argue it's happening with Nico.
What certainly doesn't excuse the behavior.
Sure.
Or the thought process, right? Like, I don't want to just let you off the hook.
No, that's fine.
Because this is how we think.
I understand how they got there, though.
Yeah. Like, what makes Emmett Johnson any different than Marquise Buford?
I don't know that there is a difference in terms of. I think
it's you know what it is? It's how we talk about him.
Well, here's the other thing.
It's how we talk about him.
Because I will push back a little bit.
Who's the greatest Emmett Johnson defender?
Either you or TK.
Right. Okay. How many touchdowns did Emmett Johnson have? It's easy.
1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
here's the only place I'll push back. For most people who don't have as extensive as a football background as you do.
Oh, don't let me off the hook.
I'm not letting you
don't,
off the hook.
Don't do that passive aggressive.
I'm not being passive aggressive. I'm being legitimate here. It's easier for people to see offense. I know what Emmett Johnson looks like as a running back more than I know if Marquise Buford's doing his job as a safety.
Fair. I'll own
That's all I mean.
I'll own that.
Like, I watch offense different.
I just don't want. Well, it's because you're smart.
No.
Because I think
offense is easier to see.
I think we let people off the hook in terms of not growing. Like, I mean, they say a lot of things, and sometimes you just got to get better.
I would
you know what? Sometimes I want to say.
What's that?
Make sure you know what you're talking about before you talk about it.
Fair.
But people don't want to hear that from somebody that played.
Yeah. I would even make the argument.
So you don't use it against me either.
Yeah, I'm not trying to.
No, I'm just
in general.
Yeah,
the royal we.
Yeah. Yes, the royal.
I would even make the argument that it's easier to see running back, or we think it's easier to see running back than like wide receiver, right? Because we don't always know. Hey, what route was he supposed to run there? And I don't think a lot of people know, to a certain degree, like, hey, what is good route running? You know, how is that designed versus how did he execute it? Was that an option route that he made the wrong decision on, or did the quarterback make the wrong throw there?
Yeah.
You know, like there's even some intricacies on offense that I think are harder to see. Running back is easy in the sense of, hey, if they get yards, we like it. Like if they move the ball forward, we like it.
Yeah.
Like
I do think there's something to we don't really know whose responsibility that was. Was that on Herzog? Was that on Malcolm? Or was
he trying to cover for somebody
Keys?
that
was
wasn't,
that on Deshaun?
you know?
Yeah, I
it's the same way. We see it a lot.
I'll entertain that.
You see it a lot in basketball when you've got rotating defenses where somebody will get dunked on, but it's because they were trying to cover for a guy that made a mistake or was trying to cover for somebody else. Like there's a lot more variables there, I think. And if you don't know what they were supposed to do, it can get a little bit tricky. You know, we make a lot of like corners a little easier sometimes if we're like, hey, we know they're in man. Did this guy get beat or not? Like that's a little easier. Safety can get a little tricky if you don't know the assignments going in. So that's why I would push back on the Emmett versus Buford thing.
And that's why you think it's easier to extrapolate?
I think we think it's easier. I don't know that it actually is. It's easier to talk about.
Yeah. Because I mean, quietly. I mean, like now, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. But now all of a sudden, like offensive line gets the benefit of the doubt.
I
think that's weird.
I was the earliest adopter on that. I was.
Outside of the guy that said, well, the players wanted him. Coach Rule was intent on getting rid of him. I'll ride with Donnie because that's who the guys want.
But even outside of that, just saying, hey, he's sort of always figured it out. Let's just assume he's going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? It was when Teddy Prohaska went down last year before the season. That's when I really started to get on this because there was enough track record, in my opinion, at that point.
Like what? So, and it's like I completely understand it, but I do because I think I was also an early fan. It is interesting though how we're willing to just assume when we weren't before. And maybe it is the Holgerson piece. Maybe it is the 5-star thing. Maybe it is.
It's probably a combination of a lot of things.
But
I think there's also a desperation that we want him to be the thing that he needs to be. I think there's a certain part of us that's like, we need that from him. I think that factors in. There's an emotional element to it.
I definitely am not going to knock your hustle.
I don't blame people that there's an emotional element to it. They're right. They need Nebraska needs Dylan Raiola to be the 5-star.
Yeah.
And
if he is,
all bets are off.
Your chances of success increase.
Go skyrocket.
Monumentally.
Increases your margin for error, increases your ceiling. It's a total game changer if Dylan is Dylan, right? If Dylan's the guy who we want him to be, Total game changer. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We'll be back tomorrow. More Hurrdat Sports Live.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.